Defining Duke is brought to you by Mack Weldon. Underwear is a key part of podcasting that no one talks about. You can't sit there with really tight, uncomfortable underwear. Now, it's important that you wear what's comfortable during the summer, which Mack Weldon provides, but for those of you out there who are working a desk job, or you're like me, you're sitting there talking to a microphone for hours at a time, Mack Weldon has some of the most flexible, comfortable, breathable, mind you, underwear imaginable. Buy some this summer with Mack Weldon Daily Wear System. For 20% off your order, visit MackWeldon.com/Duke and enter promo code Duke. That's MackWeldon.com/Duke, promo code Duke for 20% off. Mack Weldon, radically efficient wardrobing. Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 34 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. As always, I'm joined by the lovely live streamer himself, Lord Cognito.
What's going on? The Dukes are here. Busy day. Royalty in the building. Another Duke.
Oh, yeah. Hey, he needs no introduction. Jez Corden, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me. It has been quite a day, hasn't it? Got quite a lot to talk about.
Ton.
I mean, man, I don't think I need to introduce it at all, but Gamescom, Xbox Gamescom, of course, their own separate stream, and then QuakeCon, because the way our show timed out, we had to wait for those announcements. So we thank you for your patience, but also we hope you're ready for a rockin' show. For those of you who are supporting us over on Patreon, just know that Defining Duke Ultimate episode 30 has gone live. It's our Ascent review discussion and spoiler cast. It's totally positive, I promise. We love that game. Go ahead and check that out if you missed it. You'll also get early access to our show every Thursday at patreon.com/laststandmedia, or if you don't want to, whatever, free feeds, Apple, Google Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, YouTube, Sundays, we accept you.
Yeah, free 99 still.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, right. I mean, we can't promote Game Pass and be like, talking about free 99 and all of a sudden get upset when someone listens to us for free.
True indeed.
All right. As always, we like to get to start with 5 warm-up questions. We want to zoom right into that because we have a lot of news to go over, but we want to make sure that we, of course, include the patrons. So we start off with Joseph Barker. Hey, Dukes, is Psychonauts 2 Xbox's Ratchet and Clank equivalent? Is it the start of Xbox publishing more first-party platformers? Now, Jez, you and I had chatted a little bit before getting you on the show. You have been playing Psychonauts 2. How'd you feel about this one? Was it as impressive as a lot of people were saying online to you?
I mean, I previewed it a while ago, and I was pretty impressed with the preview slice. It was a pretty beefy preview build they gave to press, like 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on how far out of bounds you went. Like they had a set areas, and I was like, go to this area, but not this area. It's not polished yet. And I just didn't read the email, so I went off playing like into areas I weren't supposed to be in. I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." So, but yeah, I'm not someone who has a lot of nostalgia for 3D platformers. I kind of went from like 2D platformers to then PC first-person shooters, and I just sort of missed that whole sort of wave of Banjo and stuff like that. And I do feel like a lot of the clamoring for 3D platformers does come from nostalgia, I think. So for me, I wasn't particularly excited about Psychonauts going in. Haven't played the original, and I'm not from that sort of 3D platformer culture that Rare and other companies sort of built up. That being said, I was pleasantly surprised by just how awesome the game is from an art perspective, a music perspective, voice acting perspective. The writing is just amazing. It's like, or even if you're not a fan of 3D platformers, there's just so much to love about this game. Like, especially as a child of the 90s, like, even though I didn't play 3D platformers, I did watch a lot of 90s, TV shows and cartoons. And this really does feel like a love letter to that entire sort of culture. So, yeah, it did take me by surprise because I did expect like you got to have some sort of nostalgia to enjoy this game, but that's not the case. But to answer
Yeah.
your patron's question,
Mhm.
Microsoft's philosophy about how they commission games is, I mean, this is something they've always said, and they're pretty public about it as well. But they say like games have to earn their sequels. So like, you're never going to see a Crackdown 4, I don't think.
Shit. Damn.
Because I don't think that's ever going to be a thing. I don't think you'll ever see a Rage 3. After Rage
Okay,
2.
now I'm actually upset.
Oh yeah, his feelings now.
I couldn't believe Rage 2 even existed.
Mhm.
Yeah, so but it ultimately depends on if the game does well. If it gets like good engagement, engage pass, which is how Microsoft regards a game doing well these days. If it sells well at retail within their expectations, if it gets loads of accolades and awards, that's something they could also see as a driving force to justify a sequel, even if lots of people don't necessarily pick it up. Because then, like, if the critical reception's really good, you could argue that the marketing dropped the ball or something. So I do think Psychonauts 3 does hinge on it doing well, but judging by how well it's been celebrated and stuff like that, I would suggest that Psychonauts could end up being another pillar franchise for Microsoft. Does that mean they'll go in and do more of these kind of games, like your Banjos and stuff like that? I don't think it necessarily means that we'll definitely get another Banjo, because Psychonauts 2 exists because it's Tim Schafer's baby and Double Fine's baby, and they love that IP. They know it inside out and backwards. Like, you can feel the love dripping from every pixel in that game. You really can. And for Banjo to come back, for example, just taking Banjo as an example, it'd really need a team that was really passionate about Banjo and a pitch that was rock solid, and there's more stars that have to align. So while I can see a Psychonauts 3, I don't think it necessarily means Microsoft's going to go all in on the genre, because as we've seen from like other companies, they haven't generally done that well in recent times.
Gotcha.
I think Ratchet and Clank and Psychonauts are maybe outliers,
Right.
but
Yeah,
I could be completely wrong too. That's just
I
my
agree.
take.
Yeah, because you got games on Game Pass like Super Lucky's Tale, which is pretty good. And so there's clearly an interest there for them, but I don't know if they're going to suddenly start pushing it more and more. Like you said perfectly, it's just you could feel the love in this game, where I'm like you, I did not have any previous experience with this. A lot of our patrons wrote in, a lot of comments I got were saying like, you got to play first one. And I wanted to, but I never got around to it, despite it being a pretty short length. For those who are interested, I've heard it's about 8-10 hours tops. And you could fire it up on Game Pass if you wanted to. But I went in blind because there was a recap there, and I thought it would also offer the interesting perspective of, hey, this second one looks great, but I wasn't crazy about the first one. And some of the environmental design and mission design in this game is just phenomenal. It's some of the best I've seen in a long while. Like, you've got a game show you're a part of at one point. I thought the acting was also just phenomenal. That was where I felt there was a separation, because I've said this a lot, and I keep beating this drum because I think it's an important distinction to make.
Let's go.
When you look at Ratchet and Clank, to me, I think on a visual level, that's as close as we've gotten to something like Pixar, which was the pretty big comparison. But I think on a personality and animation level, I want to say Psychonauts 2 kind of took that away from me.
Wow.
Obviously, Ratchet had a way bigger budget. It did much more prettier things. But I just think the performances in Psychonauts 2 just were not being applauded enough, as they really livened up everything. Because on the outside looking in, Psychonauts looks like this just acid trip of a video game. But as you start getting into the minds of these people, it makes a little bit more sense why it's presented this way and how gently it handles its themes. There's just a lot to love, where I think it softens what your initial expectations may be if you were like me looking at it going, oh, I'm good. There's just a lot more than what meets the eye here, where, I found this, to me, was of 2021 being that Pixar-like experience. It was sort of like a Tim Burton meets Pixar, just based off like the character models and the animation. It was just fantastic. I really liked it. Now, Cog, you and I were talking before, because you were asking me, you were like, Matt, what's the scoop? And I was like, I'm still liking it.
Yeah.
So how are, I know you haven't played it yet, but have you have you garnered some interest now? Is this
Oh,
is this
yeah.
a business decision game for you?
Definitely a business decision. I just have a rule where it's like when we get into the next question about 12 minutes, about when I'm kind of doing something, I'm dealing with one particular game, then I want to give it that proper time before I just start the new game. And I know it's the rage, but I will say this, listen to what Jez is saying about, 90s callbacks and nostalgia. Listen to what you were saying earlier with your initial reviews, because you guys are fortunate to get this thing early and really kind of a deep dive. For me, the thing that surprised me is, like Jez, I came in with extremely low expectations for this game.
Yeah.
Like, this was not something that I was on my radar. It was more of, I want to see why people are so passionate about it. And then obviously Double Fine, this is something we know that has a history. So the thing that's really streaming to me is the actual, like, the intellectual aspect of the game, the psychosis of the game, the things that I'm hearing in that regard. I'm hearing that is done extremely well. And when you talk the way you're talking, as well as Jez's amazing co-host, Randall Thor, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I hear you guys bloviate this way and you guys are so excited that I'm like, all right, this is going to scream to me now. Now I am I'm really interested, especially when you compare it to Ratchet and Clank, because I'll be honest, I didn't think, coming in, I didn't think it would be something that would be comparative, to be honest. I didn't know what to expect. And to hear you guys praise it, and I think it's sitting at a 87, maybe 88 at Metacritic right now.
Yeah.
And to see the praise this game is getting, it is really cool to see. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited that Microsoft helped push it across the finish line. I'm excited for the future of Double Fine. Them now with resources and a budget and the next project as well. So I'm diving in, man. I just got to get the 12-minute situation handled. And it's going on. And obviously, I'm a Destiny fan. This is the biggest Destiny we can,
Of course. Yeah,
oh my God. You know what I mean? So it's a lot going on. But Psychonauts is getting done. That is for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, because two other things I wanted to touch on, I want to know if Jez agreed, is number one, I felt this game was more meaty than I think it ever needed to be. And I don't say that in a bad way. Sometimes a game can fall into bloat, but this game had so much content to it for a 3D platformer. And that's what made the diversity scream to me much more. I was thinking to myself as I was playing, I mean, this is another level that feels and looks and you approach it entirely different from the last. To me, that was so significant. Did you experience that, Jez?
I think this is interesting because I've actually been thinking a little bit about this recently. The difference between a sort of a studio published game and a sort of AA, AAA sort of game that has been run through Kickstarter seems to be completely different. Because recently I've been playing Pillars of Eternity, which is a Kickstarter game, and like Psychonauts, which is also a Kickstarter game. Those are games funded for the fans, and they're made for the fans, funded by the fans. And it leads to this sort of almost expectation where they have to add all these features that the fans want. It has like this direct feedback loop between what the fans of the Kickstarter investors want and what the game developers want. So it almost like, this is slightly off on a tangent, but I've actually been thinking, like, would a Microsoft published Psychonauts 3 not have as much of this diverse array of features? Because this is one thing that I often worry about with Microsoft, is this sort of thing where they're like, I don't want to say cut corners, but they just sort of focus on one or two, three, maybe core gameplay loops, and then like they sort of cut out extra features. Because I've written an article about this, but actually, like, I have this conspiracy theory that telemetry, that telemetry data and on usage affects how big publishers approach games, and they think like, well, nobody used this feature in that game, so we'll cut it from the next game. But I think like, if that feature's not there, it decreases the richness of the game, even if you don't use it. Like, I always use like Mass Effect.
That Age of Empires too, didn't they? During the stream for the Xbox Gameplay Showcase Extended, they mentioned something about boats being removed, and they're like, oh, fans were upset with Age of Empires 2 because we thought no one was using them. They mentioned data, and then they said that they added them back in 4, I believe it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like that's a great example. It's like, even if you don't use things, just the fact that it's there enhances your experience. And I think like when Microsoft focuses on telemetry, it only gives them an on-off switch. It's like, did this person use this or did they not use it?
Right.
And I think Mass Effect is a really great example. They say like 60% of something like 65%, maybe it was more, players only choose Paragon decisions. So for EA, their telemetry is telling them nobody wants to play a Renegade. So in Mass Effect Andromeda, there were very soft decisions.
Yes,
there was no
right.
Renegade stuff. However, because there's no Renegade stuff, it reduces the impact of your Paragon decision.
Yeah.
So like they made decisions based on data, but the data doesn't tell the full picture of how those features make you feel, even if you don't necessarily engage with them.
Well said.
So like, to loop it back around to the original question, while Psychonauts might feel like it has a lot of bloat, like it has all the collectible stuff, like tons of collectibles. I hate collectibles. I never do any collectibles. At the same time,
I respect that.
I like that they're there. I like that they're there. And it makes me feel like this game has a lot of features that I potentially could use. I probably won't. Maybe that's like a really ridiculous argument to make. Like, I want these features to be there, even if I don't want to use them.
It makes you feel less limited. Like you're less confined.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, maybe like some of this stuff's a bad example. I like the Mass Effect example because as someone who does play Renegade, if the Paragon options weren't there, my Renegade decisions would make me feel less of an asshole. You know, it's like, well, I have no choice but to play like an asshole. But I want to feel like shooting Rex in the face was my decision. I want to feel like it was my decision. You know?
Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Even if most people are going Paragon, to make that feel like that is a choice you're making, you're not shoehorn down that. You got to have the option to shoot Rex in the face, right?
Yeah, and I think Japanese games do this really well, where it's like that. Like I've been playing like Final Fantasy 14 recently, which is an MMO. And the difference between Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft in terms of just random features that is just huge. Like Final Fantasy 14 has like tons of these little features and random little things. And I'm just thinking, there's no way I can access all of this content. There's just so much there. But because there's so much there, it feels like the game world is bigger. Whereas World of Warcraft has become so telemetry focused. They just focus on this small subset of features. I'm paying the same amount monthly, but I feel like I'm getting less for my subscription.
Yep, fair enough.
Even if I might not necessarily use some of that stuff. So I do like that because Psychonauts was funded by Kickstarter players, fans of the original, they were like, well, we've got to include all this stuff. We've got to include all the collectibles. We've got to include all these reasons to go back and play through past levels, even though maybe most people won't do that. But like, you know, I have this massive war against telemetry, you know, and I think it makes games more boring, you know.
No, it's valid points. The last point, I know we're going along with this one, but the last point I'll say is that, you know, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, in the Xbox Game Studio acquisition mode that these, you know, studios are now with their next iteration, right? How does their behavior change? Do we see what you're talking about, Jez, where it becomes the telemetry thing? Because we've heard all the good things coming in where, hey, Microsoft's hands off. They're going to let them do what they got to do. But the proof's in the pudding when it's the next one, right? Well, so that I think we'll get more answers to that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the only second point I was going to make out of the two was polish. Games polished. I think that was a really encouraging sign for Xbox Game Studios overall. And I know that the investment of Xbox Game Studios, I believe they had said, is what got them boss fights. So those are one of the highlights of the game, and it showed their impact there. So I think there's a yin and yang to this situation, but I think it's well-deserved skepticism on how things will evolve. All right, let's get into our second one about another big launch for Xbox, which is coming from Craves Snow. They write in, Yo, Dukes, it looks like 12 minutes is going to be a love it or hate it experience for people. I'm going to give it a shot on PC. It's thankfully available on Game Pass for PC and console. Any impressions from you? All right. I have not played this one yet, but Cog, I know you've been in on it.
Yeah.
This is, all right, so people were coming at me saying, I've gone too hard on Ascent. As far as I'm aware, pretty sure only one dude's really handling the work on 12 minutes, right? A lot of the heavy lifting. And I'm looking at what people are saying online. I'm like, God damn, they're tearing this thing apart. And then some people are like, it's great. I loved it. Where does COG fall on this very divisive game?
This is a weird one because
I love to hear
people I trust are completely divided.
Mm-hmm.
They are complete. This is one of the more polarizing games that I've seen. I had to play it just off of the stretch. Shout out to Hogue, friend of the show. He gave it a 0 out of 10. He's like, it's just it's so polarized. Now, full disclosure, I'm about 60 to 70% in. I will say off the bat, for me, overall, I do like it. It's super addicting. I think the premise is unique. And the thing about it, this is how I knew I liked it, because I said, I'm going to try it for about an hour, just so I could give some brief impressions. And then, the next day I'll come back to it. And 5 hours later, I'm still playing this game. So the thing about it is, the possibilities are really cool. The voice acting I felt with Defoe and the other characters are really cool as far as how you interact. And basically the game wants you to figure things out without spoiling too much. It wants you to figure out what's happening. And you're in this infamous time loop where there are times when the game I feel is really beautifully done with the interactions, with your questions, your inquiries. And I feel it's spot on sometimes. Other times I'm like, that didn't feel too spot on, or the game dev is trying to force me through a path. But I will say this, like when you do start to figure things out, it really starts to get addicting. It's also very chilling and scary when, based on the patterns of the time loop, you start to give me case in point. You come into the house, you start to question your wife about things, and then clearly she's not giving you the right answers for stuff, right? As you start to figure out more and more of the mystery, what I found funny was the game offered me a lot of control that I didn't think was possible, which was like, going to the closet, picking up my phone, and I'm like, look, I know something's going to happen in 12 minutes. So I'm calling the cops. And I literally was like 911, and the game allowed me to do that. And it literally was like, hey, and I was like, look, there's something going on between, my wife and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, we'll be there in 15 minutes, which is against the time loop. So I just thought it was little funny nuances, clicks, and stuff like that really set well with me. Look, this game, because of the repetitive nature, is really going to piss some people off.
Gotcha.
Because of some forced choices or forced discovery may piss some people off. But I did like it. I thought it was a unique premise. And, the only scathing thing I have to say about it that I really disliked was the control. I did not like the control. This, to me, felt like a PC game at its core. Gotcha. And I shouldn't have to put my mouse, the cursor on a screen and move it to someone, for my character to move. Because here's the thing. There are moments in the time loop where things are very time sensitive and you have to rush. It's like, okay, let me go this, let me get this cup, let me put water in the cup so that she could do this, and there's sleeping pills, I can drug my wife. You can do all type of stuff. And it gets crazy and it gets dark, bro. It gets really dark. But there's time constraints. So if you don't do it in a quick time, and I'm fighting with the control because it's really not control. It's really not made for control. It's really a mouse and click game. So that was my main thing. But I don't know if Jez played it. I don't know. I'm dying to know how he feels about it because I'm curious. Oh, okay, so you guys are the same. But yeah. I could go on about this game, but look, that was my thing. That was my main thing about it. The control, and sometimes the dev had a heavy hand on where he felt it should continue. But with every failure, the character becomes more self-aware. And he starts to talk about things in real time, understanding he's in the time loop. And that was probably the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, I'm very surprised on how divisive it is. A lot of people were kind of counting it as a slam dunk. It was like looking at myself with the Ascent, right? I'm standing there just going like, yeah, this is it. And didn't really deliver for me. But I want to try it because given the length of the game, I've heard about 6 hours or so, 6-8 hours tops. I feel like that's not so long of a time sink where if I don't like it, it's an easy finish nonetheless. That's a weekend game easily.
Yeah. You're telling me it's longer than 12 minutes?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's its own genre. It's like a narrative roguelite. Like it's
roguelite.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And I will say this, like some of the dialogue paths are really cool when you do start figuring out. There's a part where you, again, the person who comes in, who's played by William Dafoe, he's this aggressive cop, and you know at the moment he's going to come in. And if you haven't done certain things, you know what I mean? And there's times where I'm like, all right, I found the knife. He comes in here and, or tries to do anything. Nope. Things get changed.
Do you have to wait the full 12 minutes, or do you press something like end the loop and
well, yes, no, it's a full 12, but what you do is there's certain things you can do that accelerate the loop.
Okay.
So once you start figuring things out, it's almost like, like you play in an open world game and you press the button to like speed up time, so to speak. There's certain triggers in the game by acting like hiding in the closet for one. You can hide in the closet, and at a certain point, the game will say, okay, now we wait, because he's self-aware of what he has to do at the next juncture. So, yeah, it's not all you have to wait 12 minutes. There's certain things you do to do that, for sure.
Very interesting. I'm going to want to play that. Of course, we're setting up a spoiler cast and review discussion for patrons, so we'll have that shortly after.
Defining Duke is brought to you by Mack Weldon. Stop thinking about what to wear and just embrace the radically efficient Mack Weldon daily wear system. Through these advertisements, you and we've gotten to know each other a little bit better. You've learned a lot about my wardrobe choices. And I got to say, underwear is a key part of podcasting that no one talks about. You can't sit there with really tight, uncomfortable underwear. Now, it's important that you wear what's comfortable during the summer, which Mack Weldon provides, but for those of you out there who are working a desk job, or you're like me, you're sitting there talking to a microphone for hours at a time, Mack Weldon has some of the most flexible, comfortable, breathable, mind you, underwear imaginable. So once again, a little fun fact about your boy. Underwear choice matters. If you're interested, buy some this summer with Mack Weldon Daily Wear System. For 20% off your order, visit MackWeldon.com/Duke and enter promo code Duke. That's MackWeldon.com/Duke, promo code Duke for 20% off. Mack Weldon, radically efficient wardrobing.
Let's move on to Kyle Borchert, who writes in, hey, Maddie and Cog, long time, first time, given the numerous review and preview embargoes lifting this week, it made me think about plump review scores and Game of the Year contenders. Now more than ever, seemingly every major release plus select popular indies are anointed Game of the Year contender upon review. This doesn't happen in any other entertainment medium. People go to the movies, sometimes don't like what they watch or are super fans, Star Wars, Marvel, etc., and still critique the product. Same for music, books, sports, etc. A 500 football team is never considered a Super Bowl contender. Is it unique to influencer/publisher relationships in games that most critics are afraid to explore to scale in fear that they won't get access next time? Surely not every major release is an 8, 9, or 10. I'm envisioning here.
I need Jez on this one.
Just some nuanced food for thought. Thanks for all you do, Kyle from Minnesota. Jez, you couldn't help but laugh. Let's pass it off to you, man.
Let's do it. Lord Window Central. Let's go.
It's funny because I literally called Psychonauts 2 a Game of the Year contender.
Oh, did you really? I didn't know that when I was picking this. I was not attacking you, Jez. I was not.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's funny because, sorry, I've got carpal tunnel syndrome. And my hand is really killing me. So
no, that's not good, man. I don't know how that feels.
But, it's interesting because on Windows Central, we're not a traditional video game blog. We're like outsiders. We're a tech blog first. We cover Xbox from the angle of it's part of the Xbox, the Microsoft ecosystem. We cover the whole Microsoft ecosystem. Most of our traffic's about Windows Central, and then Xbox is powered by Windows. Hence, they hired me to cover Xbox. So it is funny because I come at this not as a game journalist, but more of a tech journalist. And tech journalism is very different to game journalism. We see games more like in the software context. Like, is this value for money? We're not really looking to criticize the art so much. Like obviously we'll say if graphics are bad or comment an opinion on art style or something, but we're not really looking to analyze the game from an artistic subjective perspective. It's more like, is it buggy, does it perform well, is it value for money, is it priced appropriately, that kind of thing. So I get told all the time, like, oh, you're only saying this is good because you're scared of losing access. And I'm just like, I don't care about access because I ain't a game journalist. We don't make any money from covering video games. And frankly, I don't think any blogs make money from covering video games. All the money comes from covering technology, Yeah. So I'm in a unique position where I literally couldn't care less what Microsoft thinks of me. I literally couldn't care less what publishers think of me. If you see like some of the articles I put out about Xbox and Microsoft, criticizing them and criticizing Activision, like I was sure I was going to get cut off from Activision the last few weeks for some of the coverage I put out there about Bobby.
Put out some stuff, brother. I was impressed.
But they still send me press releases. So I think a lot of publishers are not. A lot of people look to some certain famous examples where a publisher has cut off an outlet. I think I can't remember which outlet it was, but I remember Ubisoft famously cut off an outlet, and they put out an article.
It was Kotaku, I want to say.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And they put out an article attacking Ubisoft for cutting them off. So now, there's this whole narrative of if you criticize a publisher, you get cut off. I don't think that's necessarily the case. A lot of publishers thrive on criticism because they see it as, especially Microsoft do, because they absorb the feedback, and it's I'm sure there are some smaller publishers who might cut people off, but generally, at least with Microsoft, they want the feedback. They want the brutally honest feedback, because if we're saying it, chances are everyone else is probably
what's
thinking
unique
something
at
similar.
That point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't think that the fear of being cut off or losing access is a thing. I don't think it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not, because if you're not honest, people won't come for your opinions, and they won't. Ultimately, the blogger's job, blogger, journalist, whatever, is to serve the reader. And if you're not acting as a voice for your audience, then you're not doing your job properly, in my opinion. And sure, there are some journalists who don't do that, and they're treated like their own personal sort of, sounding board. But it's, I don't know. I don't do it that way, and people that I know don't do it that way.
Respect.
But to loop it back around to the whole Game of the Year question, I do think I do agree with their assessment that the relationship between covering games, marketing, and the publishers is a bit weird, and shall we call it immature? I think it's immature, and it's sort of blurred a bit, because YouTubers and streamers and stuff, they're individuals, and they're not really held to any sort of journalistic ethics, quote unquote. And they have no oversight. They're just personal. They're independent. So they could take money from, or they could take not money for an opinion, but they can have relationships where it's they're a little bit too close to the marketing, maybe.
Yes.
And maybe they want the access and stuff like that. So ultimately, bloggers and journalists and typical outlets are in competition with some of these influencers for attention, basically.
Yes.
So as YouTube and social media gets more hyperbolic, a lot of bloggers follow along with it, and there's, the algorithm promotes hyperbole. It does. The algorithm demands sensationalism. It demands divisive opinions. It demands extreme. This is the best. Everything, But the algorithm is also driven by what people search for. So people tend to search for that sensationalism, which trains the algorithm to reward sensationalism. So we do end up in this weird situation where games as a medium has this sort of weird quasi-marketing, jargony sort of, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but it has this sort of weird, it does have a weird relationship. And I do agree that the term Game of the Year is thrown around at ridiculous speed, because unlike the movie industry, which your Patreon dude compared it to, there is no real centralized official awards show for gaming.
Correct.
The Game Awards is becoming like the Oscars, or they're trying to make it like the Oscars for gaming. But, at the same time, every outlet does their own Game Awards. We do Game Awards. We do 2 Game Awards. We do Jez's Great Game Awards, which is my personal Game Awards. Right. And then also Windows Central Game Awards. And then every website does their own Game Awards, and a lot of YouTubers do Game Awards. I think like some of the big YouTube like big company businesses out there, they have their own award shows for tech and laptops and stuff like that, and it's because there's money in it. You can license out the awards. Sometimes you'll see like
So
awards.
Gamescom.
Gamescom will sell the marketing rights to some of their awards to the they'll sell the marketing rights to some of the publishers for this.
It was fascinating to watch. They literally said, now we're voting for the best Nintendo game, and their fucking choices were Mario and Rabbids. I'm like, okay, that's a Nintendo game, and Just Dance 2022. And I'm like, what is this? And it was just those two. I'm like, no Pokemon, nothing. Like, no, you're not going to pick from those Nintendo games. And they were both Ubisoft.
Weird.
It was extremely weird.
But Nintendo or Ubisoft or whoever, they will pay Gamescom money to be able to say, we won an award at Gamescom. Like, and that's just how it works,
It's so weird.
So as long as there's and that creates a weird relationship, because Gamescom would be like, which publisher is most likely to give us $1 million for this award? Is the Pokemon company gonna give us $1 million for an award?
Are you implying that's what that game? That's what it really means, Jez? And that's what we do.
Tinfoil hat, man. Tinfoil hat.
I think it's a fair tinfoil hat, but
Ubisoft might give. Who won
I was
the
gonna
award?
say Ubisoft needs as much good PR as they can get.
But it's all just marketing. It's all marketing at the end of the day. But the Oscars is held up as this incorruptible sort of pillar of what an award show should be. But that's just sycophantic BS as well, So it's just who cares? Game of the year is a meaningless term. What's your game of the year?
Your game of the year, preach. And that's what I was going to say. If not to cut you, Jed. I was literally going to say the same thing. It was just more of a, to me, all this stuff is outlier stuff, and to me, it's just what people consider game of the year. That's fine, but I've never looked at that as the holy Bible, the sacred word, and and I feel the problem is, I think. When we get into the Metacritic and all that stuff, is the fanboys hold it so high, but at the same time, to the points Jez is saying about corruptibility and influence, and then when you look at the Game Awards and stuff like that, and you look at who's on the board, and sometimes you have situations where a game is nominated and certain people from famous magazines and influencers are actually in the game that's not nominated for game. Like, it starts to blur the line, right? It really does. So to me, I don't take any of that seriously as law. I go to reviews and all that stuff to the people who I respect that like similar genres I like, and I want to get their opinion, because I know they may like this style of game. They may like turn-based, so they might, so that's the guy. I go to you, Maddie, right? And I'm like, yo, if I'm going to get my, Western RPG, Bethesda, my Fallout, I'm going to go and I'm going to see what you think, kind of thing. But to this question, I think no other genre, really does that. So gaming is different. And I don't never hear that term like, yo, we just watch Spider-Man Come Home and that's going to be movie of the year. That's going to be Oscar contender. Like, you don't really see, this album definitely
at least.
Yeah, exactly. Album of the year, Grammy for sure. Like, it's just a different culture. But I'm curious your thoughts, Maddie, with this whole thing.
Yeah, I think Jez brings up a fair point on the idea that YouTubers, streamers, they get a little closer. Personally, I've had that experience. I say it all the time that like I've worked with like THQ on Destroy All Humans. Even, and I got to say, it can muddy the waters a little bit. Where I had a situation where I was going to cover Wasteland 3, and then they approached me with a pretty good brand deal where I would have felt stupid to turn it down. Plus, I was already into it. I had previewed it, liked it, gave me access. And I gave it a rave review, but they weren't paying me for a review. They were just like, we want you to feature it on your channel. Like, we're paying for a slot on your channel, but that's not what people say, or see rather. So there's definitely a little bit of getting close there, but I've never earned any extra favors from any of these companies when I do one of these. They just, at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're trying to, in those cases, buy advertising space on your channel. And it's like,
I mean, to be completely fair to YouTubers like yourself and stuff, it's hard, because if you're me and you work in a big company, I can separate myself from all that. So like if say for example, using your example, say for example, Wasteland 3 wants to put a banner ad on Windows Central.
Mhm.
They have to talk to our advertising department, not me.
Right.
So like,
Right.
I don't even see that side of the
See
business.
that part.
So like
Right.
when and my editor would never say, we want you to give this an award because we think
Right.
they'll give us access or whatever.
Mhm.
That is by design. That's all separate. So editorial can be pure and incorruptible. And I think that's how most larger blogs do it.
Yeah.
But when you're an individual,
Yes.
you have to work harder to
Yes.
sort of maintain that integrity.
Absolutely.
And
sorry, continue.
yeah. So like, but at the same time, like, there are probably smaller blogs that don't bother having that integrity, So,
Mhm.
and there are YouTubers who probably don't bother having that integrity. So it is all blurred.
Yeah, I
And-
mean, I look at it this way. I'm not even saying it's in a manner of justification, but more so for perspective. Is I've surfed around and seen like some of the ads that other creators will do, and they do what they got to do for their own brand. That's fine.
Mhm.
I see some of them stepping into waters where I'm like a mobile game promotion. I'm like, never,
Right.
man, never.
Right.
But when I started to see reviewers that I personally trust a lot, to name one like Skill Up,
Mhm.
do like a brand deal with Oculus to talk about I forgot the name of the Viking VR game that was an
Mhm.
RPG, came from Sanzaru. Can't remember
Okay.
the name of it, of course, though. But when I saw him do it, to me, I saw other YouTubers I respected and opinions that I followed, and I was like, I never really questioned them, and I don't question them afterwards. So you think to yourself, why not me?
Mhm.
But you do have to walk that careful ground, I think,
Yeah.
because I consider myself more of a reviewer for sure.
Right. Mhm.
And it's something that I think what's happened is there's almost been a rebellion in the audience of the review scale because of that lack of exploration. One particular brand I've seen really struggle as of late was IGN, where they're kind of getting slammed for recently giving a lot of 8s. And
Right.
I think what's happening is people aren't identifying that there are freelance reviewers, there are reviewers that are in and out
Right.
of that office.
Right.
There's not a common, long-standing
Good point.
Staff that has a similar understanding of the scale, where what's an 8 to someone. I mean, I think it's fairly scored in the sense where that's a person's 8, that's a person's 8, right?
Right.
And I think the number scale is just becoming more and more damaging, where people will turn to someone like myself because I don't do that. I would just go like, here's how much I would pay for this. Is it a Game Pass download? Is it a never touch? That type of stuff. And a lot of that was shaped, I worked with Carrick for,
Mhm.
we still talk, but I worked with him for 4 or 5 years straight. And so a lot of his practices kind of just bled on to me, where I learned a lot of his ways. And so in turn, I think that association let people trust to me because they knew like I'm working with what I think is like the best YouTube reviewer. And he kind of taught me a lot of things. So there was also that, but I was in a more fortunate position. But yeah, I do think I have to agree with the idea that there's a little bit more fear to explore the scale. And I don't know if it's really because of influencer publisher relations. I think it's more so because people don't want blowback. And it can get violent, man. Like you look at what happened with GameSpot and Cyberpunk. And I'm sure, Jez, you have your own stories.
I had YouTubers make videos about my Cyberpunk review because I gave the game 9 out of 10, and I bloody well stand by that. Cyberpunk is awesome.
I gave it a really rave review too.
PC version.
Yeah, PC version. Yeah.
Be clear, Jez.
Yeah, definitely the PC version.
Yeah.
I gave it a rave review because I loved it. I love Cyberpunk. I didn't watch any of the marketing, so I was expecting Witcher 3 with guns, and that's what I got. I wasn't expecting, and I feel like a lot of people are expecting Grand Theft Auto. So like I had like a huge amount of blowback from people who had like Xbox Ones or PS4s, and the games just didn't work properly. And I was just like,
yeah, and that's where is it tougher for you? I got to ask, because I'm able to, after my review, I choose where my coverage goes. And I think you have agency over that. But like, I was able to make follow-ups like, here's what's happening with the console versions. Because I warned people in my review. I was like, we had PC. I said, I experienced these bugs, but I don't know what's going on with all the other stuff. But I was able to do follow-up coverage so people were able to see my review, my opinion, and how the story developed. Did you ever run into a wall there where like maybe you had to cover something else? Or in this case with Cyberpunk, like you weren't able to provide that extra insight?
Yeah, actually, usually no, but in the case of Cyberpunk, yes. Well, like Windows Central is not a particularly big team. I think back then we had like maybe 2 full-time writers, and then like a collection of like freelancers who are very good, by the way. But because Cyberpunk launched at the same time as the Series X and the Series S, and it was Amazon Black Friday, which is a big coverage area for Windows Central. I couldn't really do any follow-up coverage on Cyberpunk. And frankly, I didn't even want to. I just wanted it away from me as far as it could go. But I do agree that like, but now it has changed the way I approach coverage, because before I specifically avoided looking at marketing for games because I didn't want the marketing to change my opinion.
Right.
But now I think maybe I should watch the marketing of games so I can match my review to people's expectations, you know.
Right.
Like,
You know what people are
has
looking
this
for.
been mismarketed? But then am I reviewing the marketing of a game?
Or you're reviewing the game. Yeah, that's the
There's a lot of lines you got to walk.
A lot of lines.
Yeah.
It is weird. And like you know, I have a lot of respect for what you guys do, YouTubers and individuals, because you don't have a huge amount of resources to go to oftentimes.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to do things like, you know, you mentioned Skill Up covering Oculus and stuff, because like sometimes a company, if you're a big YouTuber like Skill Up, a company will offer you like a deal that just seems stupid not to take, you know, and you have to do things
also,
that are
if
right
you
for your
plan
future
on-
and your family.
I've had that. Not only that, you know, I mean, of course I have ambitions beyond YouTube, but for me, it's also sometimes you see the brand deal where like I make a list of stuff I'm going to talk about. And like, if that game's on my list and then I was going to do it for free, and then you come over and you're like, we're going to pay you. I'm like, I don't want you to control what I'm going to say. Like, I'm going to make this video. This is my plan. They're like, yeah, that's fine. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay.
Now I'm going to take, okay,
done deal.
This deal. Yeah. So it's interesting, but I understand how it looks for the common consumer. So
yeah, it is really annoying. And there's like so many conspiracy theories about the media and stuff right now. And you just sort of like, I think the best thing to do is just, you know, like you guys said, find the creators you trust.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what
and
you do.
reflect your opinions, and you know, and that's what I do. And
absolutely,
both you guys, I just say, both you guys do a very excellent job, and I'm very privileged
to
partake in this discussion.
I will say,
such esteemed gentlemen as yourself.
While we're fluffing each other's ego, I got to say, you are one of the very few I read, Jez.
Yes,
I'd say I truthfully,
very bold.
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say, I try to avoid as much content as possible because I don't want my thoughts swayed. Although I want to make sure I embrace enough where I'm seeing what people are thinking. So I'm very picky as well. So Jez, you are top on that list of people I read consistently.
Same way, likewise. And for us as a smaller site blog at lordsofgaming.net, you know, it's the same thing. I want that level of brutally honesty. And I've had situations where I've had relationships with certain publishers and stuff like that. But when it comes to the editorial team, that's separate. And I give my editor-in-chief full go. Like, he is not to be influenced by me. He can completely trash Destiny. He can completely anything that I like.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah. Oh, no, it's a running joke. That's what's so great about our internal talks is like, you know, I would, as a joke, say, hey, who's going to do that Witch Queen review? Or, you know, say whatever, you know, kind of thing. I'm expecting, you know, kind of as a joke. But they know with me that I value their honesty, and I don't care that if they're going to go, because sometimes they've come back to me and say, Cog, man, you know, I know you kind of got us that review code or, you know, whatever, but, you know, I'm going to have to go in on it. There's a lot of problems with this game. By all means, go. Same thing with opinion pieces and so on and so forth. I want you to be true to yourself. The only thing my editorial should be doing is correcting the grammar and the nature of your writing, but never taking away your voice. That's my thing. So.
Absolutely. That's excellent to hear. All right, let's get through these last two and get into the news.
Yes, sir.
Number 4 comes from Kyle Cano. Hello, fellas. With Xbox holding out some current gen optimization for PS5, but releasing Quake and Skyrim on it, what does this say to you? Is this Xbox honoring some old deals, or is there some PR strats going on behind the scenes with them playing the good guy and bad guy while testing the water? Also, people need to get that Maddie is a PS fanboy shit out of here. It's more like Xbox lawful evil is what he's defining me as, while COG is neutral good. All right. That's an alignment I can square away with.
For you with this is hilarious.
What do you guys make of this? So Psychonauts 2 doesn't have a PS5 next-gen update. Only Xbox has it. Then we have something like Hellblade, which is exclusive to Xbox on a next-gen capacity. But then you look at Skyrim Anniversary Edition, will be both systems. Quake, both systems, but Quake's on Game Pass. It seems like there's an angle for each. Skyrim is one of the standouts that doesn't have any type of angle. We'll talk about that more later on. But what do you think about Xbox and their approach here, where sometimes they're doing, most times really, I should say, based on the numbers here, they're doing what's best for Xbox fans, but they seem to hold out on PlayStation on certain occasions where there may be legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. You know, it's to me, I never look at it as the company who is in control of the publisher or developer. You know, to me, they are beholden to them, right? So anything after that is that agreement is like, for example, I look at Bethesda in their situation, right? And when they came out with the statement saying, as far as exclusivity, you know, that there going to be some legacy and some things that are going to still be done for Sony and other platforms that, you know, they're beholden to, fine. But I don't expect that generally in every deal, especially when a company is acquired, like, for example, by Microsoft, like in the Hellblade case. Like, that's, to me, how I anticipate things for the most part going forward. Whereas Hellblade comes out, it gets the ray tracing, it gets the 4K or whatever. And now that they're owned by Microsoft, I personally don't expect the PlayStation 4 version to, to get that, and the 5 version to get that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I sit it. I just, not to get the fanboy stuff, but I always find it interesting that I feel like Microsoft always has to ask these questions. Whereas if Sony is put in that position, it is kind of expected the other platform is not getting that. You know what I mean? So I'm curious with Jez in reference, especially with Quake in the Skyrim thing, like his thoughts on that, you know, as far as optimization on older things that may have been cross-platform, even though now that company or dev may be acquired by someone else.
I think it's like people often think like a switch flips and then Xbox is just like, okay, all these games no longer on PlayStation now. I think in some cases Microsoft will probably say this game's no longer PlayStation now because strategically it's better if it's exclusive, i.e. Starfield. There probably has been work done to bring Starfield to PlayStation, but for Starfield to be exclusive to Xbox and PC is just obviously a huge win for Microsoft, and it's going to fill a gap in their lineup when it drops eventually. However, in the case of Quake, in the case of Skyrim Anniversary Edition, the work had probably already been done, and it's not a huge strategic loss to lose like a decades-old game to PlayStation. And they probably just thought, we can get value out of this by putting it on PlayStation. We can gauge interest in the IP. We can gauge how well the game does. We can gather feedback, stuff like that. Data is very valuable to Microsoft, as we discussed earlier. They love their telemetry. So, maybe in some ways they think like they could gauge how well a Quake sequel might perform on console and stuff like that. Maybe. Sure. I don't know. And it's probably just a case of the work had already been done, so screw it. Also, Skyrim is like a legacy game. So is Quake. I believe Quake 2 was on PlayStation 2 or 3 or something back in the day. And, these are legacy titles, and they've always sort of hinted that legacy games will be shipping on other platforms as well. But if they do a new Quake reboot, I believe we're on Quake 5 now, if I remember right.
Yes.
If
you don't include Champions.
Yeah. Yeah. Rip in peace. But if they do a Quake 5, I firmly believe that'll be exclusive because it'll be a strategic win. You've put a drop of blood in the water with the Quake legacy Quake games, and then you rip it away from people with the exclusivity. So but I don't think we'll see any sort of next gen games go to other platforms, with the exception of Indiana Jones. I think Indiana Jones will be on PlayStation, even though I don't think they've announced platforms yet. I think Indiana Jones will be on PlayStation because it's not their IP, whatever.
Interesting.
But I don't think the next Quake will be. I think like all the future games will be exclusive to Xbox.
See, I'm on the mindset that everything in the future that is new, right? If it's a new release, and by new I don't mean remasters even. Like I think if they were to do Fallout 3 and New Vegas remaster, like so many people want, and I talk about pretty disgustingly, I think they would put that on PlayStation, right? I think if there's a chance to grow your brand through nostalgic content, they're likely going to double dip if they can. But I think anything new, including Indiana Jones, I do think they're going to lock down. And my justification for Indiana Jones has always and forever been, if you can lock down Spider-Man, you better fucking lock down anything beneath that, because Spider-Man is probably one of the most recognizable costume characters of all time, if not the most. And I just feel if you can't lock down Indiana Jones, but you can lock down Spider-Man, something's wrong. That would be my interpretation of that specific scenario. But I'm in line with you, Jez. I feel like it's just a situation where there's an opportunity to grow, gauge, and not only that, but remind people why they like Elder Scrolls. So when 6 comes around, if they do lock that down, which I think they will, it's that moment of, shit, I do like this a lot.
Exactly.
You move on over.
Exactly.
All right. Let's move on to number 5. And then we'll get into the news. Steve Forgione writes in with another Bethesda question. Hey, Duke boys, wishing you well. Forgive me for speaking from a place of ignorance, but what's stopping Bethesda and Microsoft from just hiring the guys behind fan remakes of prior Elder Scrolls and Fallout titles and having those be official versions? I understand that the technical aspect is more complicated than it looks, but if a small dedicated group of fans can do what we've asked billion-dollar corporations to do, what's the excuse for the billion-dollar corporation? I really don't see the benefit of Fallout 3 or Morrowind collecting dust while Bethesda could seemingly whip up a remake in the Creation Engine. Unless they're waiting for Creation 2.0 to be fully materialized, I'm convinced they have the resources to put something legacy-related out to whet our palate between now and Fallout 5/Elder Scrolls 6. That's all. Have an day. There's something that's interesting here that I need to call a pretty obscure JRPG series into the spotlight for. They're the Trails of series. I talked about it a lot with Cold Steel, and it's a series that I want to see Xbox get on their platform one day. They have a number of Trails of series. They have like In the Sky, they have Azure, and there's this fan remake team that goes by the name of, I want to say, the Geofront team. I apologize if I'm not accurately labeling them all, but this team handled a fan translation and overhaul of this Trails game, and it was so well done, it would have saved Neon Falcom, the developer, so much time that they actually paid for this and made it the official way to play the game, and it's now an official version of the title.
Ooh. Wow.
And a lot of people have wanted Bethesda to do this, and their way of doing it was through monetization of Creation Club, which, while we're excited for Anniversary Edition and some of the content it's going to add through Creation Club, I think was a misuse of, you guessed it, the modders that they hired for this project. And I've always said that it would make so much sense for them to get invested in these remake projects where something like Sky Oblivion is what I'm assuming Steve Forgione is talking about. Is so far along. It's probably like a year or two away. And if they had some extra resources, I can guarantee it'd be out by next year. Like they're doing, and not only that, it looks phenomenal. And they're not just taking Oblivion and putting it into Creation Engine, but making what Oblivion, remaking it. So certain areas are more authentic to the lore. Like Steven said, just more of what you would expect from a billion-dollar corporation. I truly have never understood the idea of when companies allow it, right? Because we've seen like Disney come down and shut down every single fan remake under the sun. And there are many others out there doing the same thing. We just saw a Simpsons game for the remake of Hit and Run get shut down. And so it's cool that Bethesda allows it through the tools that they have provided for fans to use, like the Creation Kit. But I've always found it fascinating that they've never been invested. So I don't know if the fascination carries to either of you two on why, or any idea on why Bethesda has never gotten involved. But now we've seen through the Trails of series that a company can get involved with a fan remake of a game and then make it their own official product to save themselves a lot of time and probably money. So where do you both fall on this subject?
Yeah, Jed.
I've actually asked people at Xbox about this in the past, some of the publishers. And some of them, for some, they've implied that it's a PR thing, where it's like, how does it look if we're asking fans to do this for us and stuff like that? And there's like almost like a trepidation about doing it, and then like, you know, sort of like you're relying on people who aren't necessarily employed by your company to potentially damage your brand. So for some, it's like maybe a sort of fear that the project won't be sort of good for the brand. But at the same time, And I've seen this myself since Windows Central got bought by a much bigger publisher. We were bought by Future PLC, then on PC Gamer, Games Radar, and a bunch of other websites.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should talk about this, but whatever.
Exclusive.
It's like I've asked, because when we were bought, they took some features off our YouTube channel, and I was like, "Why are you taking these features off our YouTube channel, like the donations and the paid subscriptions?" And they were like, "Oh, well, how does it look? We're a big publisher, and we're asking people for donations." And I'm just like, if people want to donate, let them donate.
Right.
You know, they'll feel more invested in the content we make.
In the content.
So you know, it's almost like when a company gets so big, you have like these layers of middle management who make problems out of nothing to justify their job. And
you're not wrong. That sounds very accurate.
So and I feel like when it comes to video game companies, like big publishing and stuff, that's probably where that comes in. Like there'll be layers of legal teams where just like, oh, this isn't a good idea. We shouldn't do this. Blah blah. We don't know these people. Blah blah. What if they take our brand and put like, I don't know, giant penises in it or something, you know, which, funnily enough, you know, there's an old story about State of Decay with giant penises. I don't know if you guys are aware.
Yeah, I know, I'm aware.
But some contractors who worked on State of Decay hid giant penises under the map.
Yes.
So,
no way. I actually was not aware of that.
That's a thing, Manny. That's a thing. That's a thing.
Look that up. State of Decay, giant penises. Just put it into Google. But maybe put safe search on.
Now.
Maybe.
Safe search.
I'll let you know what comes up in a moment. But you continue on.
But you know, it's that kind of fear, and you know, maybe it's a legitimate fear. Maybe it's like, if we let like someone just make a Fallout game that could put all kinds of crazy stuff in it, and we don't have a clause of control in what the final product could look like, and it could hurt the brand. So there's that aspect of it, and so like you could say that's a fair fear to have, or you could say it's some middle manager job's worth making problems out of nothing. Right. You could say it either way. Like if you're a cynic like me, maybe you'll say it's a middle manager just, you know, pretending that they're useful. But, you know, maybe it is smarter to actually be a bit more careful about the way you're doing things and how they're perceived. You know, it's funny they mentioned Fallout specifically because Bethesda this week hired the writer of a Fallout mod called Fallout London. I don't know if you guys saw this. So she was actually hired to be a quest designer for Bethesda because of her work on the mod. So they're looking at these fan projects, and maybe they don't necessarily invest in them directly because of legal things or whatever. And you know, you have to imagine like if Bethesda had legal bureaucracy, adding Microsoft on top of that is just like a clusterfuck of legal bullshit. And Microsoft is obsessed with how their legal things work because they're a massive company and they're a massive target for litigation. If anyone so much as thinks they can get any money out of Microsoft for anything, a patent from like 1 million years ago, they will litigate and they'll try to get some money out of Microsoft because Microsoft can afford it. And for Microsoft, it's often it's easier to just pay a settlement than fight something in court or, you know, go through the PR and all that stuff. So,
gotcha. Good point.
In a roundabout way, I'm saying, yes, it is complicated. And I use that by talking about giant penises.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I bring that full circle.
I did look it up, and I can confirm this was a thing. Yeah.
I don't have much at that. Jez killed it. I mean, I completely agree. My whole thought process was exactly what Jez said: legality and control. And you know, it just comes down to because I'm a big fan of Destiny, and some of these artists and some of these lore guys are so phenomenal. The things that they create, and I'm like, damn, why doesn't Bungie just hire this guy named Bife? My name is Bife. He's excellent. This guy, he talks about lore. You should feel he's to be a writer in the game because he knows it so well. You know, and they've had instances and opportunities where they've created their own lore in book form and written form. And, those guys that are highly respected in the lore community that do these fan-made projects and creations were not called upon by Bungie, right? So, it takes time. And I think it just comes down to simply legality, control, and, just wanting to have their tendrils on everything involving their franchise and stuff like that. It's very rare, at least that I've seen, that the fan project or fan mod or whatever. The only time I see it is when like hackers, they found a way, and I've seen companies from a security standpoint say, okay, how did they hire some of them to see how they have broken into something to kind of strengthen their defenses and stuff like that in network space. That's the only time I've kind of seen it. But yeah, I agree with Jez. I think that's primarily the reason why you don't see more of it.
Fair points all around. Now let's get into the news, where it has been a big week for Xbox, a big week for gaming in general, as we got a lot to talk about between, like I said at the top of this, Xbox Gamescom event, Geoff Keighley's opening night live, QuakeCon, Ascent patch. But more importantly than anything, I think, for Xbox fans, is we finally got our answer. It has been a big week for Halo Infinite with number one. Some good news and some bad news for eager fans. For starters, this, of course, was announced right after we recorded our show last week, so we want to make sure we cover it here. The bad news is 2 major features will not be ready for the game's launch. Forge Mode, the heartbeat of custom games, has received a 6-month delay and will release along with the Season 3 content. If that wasn't enough, Co-op has received a delay of its own and won't see the light of day until the game's second season of content, which is 3 months out. Now for some good news. Developer 343 is staying true to getting the game out by 2021, even if it's as late as can be. They have committed to a December 8th, 2021 release date for both the campaign and multiplayer together, was emphasized on stage by Joe Staten. New trailer also introduces Halo 1's Season 1 Commander Agrena, alongside all of the content we'll be unlocking. To celebrate the 20th anniversary, they are planning to release a Halo-themed Elite Controller Series 2, as well as a limited edition Halo Infinite console available on the first game's anniversary, November 19th. All right, gentlemen, so now I think it's kind of good that we missed the first scoop of news, because we weren't able to just knee-jerk react. We had time to digest, think about it. Not only that, now we've got the release date in tandem with that to look at, okay, 3 months out, we're looking at March for Co-op, we're looking at the summer for Forge. And we got a better idea, I think, of things where we can talk about it for the first time in probably a more informed manner. I want to pass this to Jez right away as our guest. Jez, number one, you were the guy who gave us hope after Xbox's Gamescom showcase, right? We're like, where was it? No Halo Infinite, no date. And you went, you guys might want to watch Open and Not Live. Right there, we were like, all right, Jez knows that something's coming. So you probably had an idea that a date was coming. Now we got the date. How do you feel about the delayed content alongside said release date?
Man, it's complicated because, I can see the arguments for both. I think the biggest problem with this delay is that, once again, it calls into question Microsoft's ability to execute a AAA game. I think that's the biggest problem here. Yes, there's COVID. Yes, it's unprecedented. And in a way, 343 was uniquely disrupted by COVID. Like, I don't know what you call it, that place in America where Microsoft is.
Redmond? Washington?
Yes, Washington. The pandemic was like particularly bad there last year, I believe. It sort of started there, if I remember right. And 343 was like uniquely impacted by it because they're sort of open plan office. They've got like all these like collaborative sort of screens up. I've seen it, man. The 343 is like, I've been there. I've actually been there, and it's like a hive of video game development, with busy bees buzzing around, hitting codes and doing all the codey things,
the Matrix. Let's go.
Yeah, kind of. And it's so for them to go from like a workflow they're used to with all this technology in-house, rapid, like sending builds over super speedy Microsoft technology, to suddenly being scattered all across the country, like literally all across the country, and then having to do all this work on domestic home internet, waiting for things to sync over SharePoint and OneDrive, not great, not ideal.
Tough.
And that was at the start of the pandemic, before Microsoft had any idea of how to cope with this stuff. So like for some countries that have only just, like New Zealand and Australia, have only just recently started to have like outbreaks that have numbered in the hundreds, you know. So like they've had time to observe the panic in the West and sort of potentially sort of have contingencies in place. Microsoft had no contingencies for a global pandemic as pertains to game development. Maybe now they do. Maybe a lot of companies do now, but they didn't at the time. Yeah, and not only that, but Chris Lee was ousted, and Joseph Staten came in, and some reports suggest that he really changed the vision for what the campaign was going to be, and decided like some things need to be better and tweaked and stuff like that. And then we had last year's gameplay showing, and Craig. And all that stuff. So
someone held up a Craig sign at WWE side.
Yo, you saw that? That's so funny.
So the point of this history lesson is to illustrate that it has not been easy for them.
Yes.
And this, even though I'm not personally affected by co-op because I have no friends, and I'm not personally affected by Forge because I have no creativity. I don't personally care about these things. What it does call into question, though, is the game as a whole in a good state? That's where I think a lot of the fear comes from, and that's where my concern comes from. I'm not even a Halo fan. Like anyone who listens to
I listen to Xbox too.
They know what I think of Halo. But I want it to be good for Xbox fans, obviously, because it's a flagship product, and not only does it carry the weight of meeting Halo fans' expectations, it's sort of like the crowning advertisement for the Xbox brand. You know, if they can't execute Halo Infinite after 6 years, that's not a good look. So, that's what I think. It's sort of like the fear that they're not going to be able to execute this. And it's just going to lead to like 75 on Metacritic or something, and it's going to be another like, when are we going to get a good game out of this company?
No.
You know, so I have no insight into what the state of the campaign is. I just want to say that now.
Okay.
I haven't heard if it's good. I haven't heard if it's bad. You know, I suppose as long as it's got like, you know, aliens to shoot in it, some people can.
Profess your love. Show your love for this franchise.
The thing that may have concerned me more is I thought that they tried to get this bad news out of the way with co-op and Forge, because when they hit the stage at Gamescom, I was thinking not a big blowout, but like when our next tech preview is happening. Here's another peek at the gameplay for the campaign 1 year later, right? It's been a year since we had the Craig debut. Now let's get a look at how we've gotten a feel for Halo for those who were lucky enough to get into the technical preview to understand, you know, hey, this game feels like it'll be fun. We don't know yet when you get real players in there and with the diversity of modes, how it'll actually balance out. But at the end of the road, I think what people wanted to see was campaign. We didn't even get that. So to me, I think while the date is encouraging, I found the date very encouraging. I was like, yes, they're taking every friggin' month that they can, and they're not trying to get your Black Friday sales. They're trying to get you right at the end of December. You know, they're getting you one way, right, with the controller, with the console to prepare you.
Oh, yeah.
But I think sales-wise, it may have been more optimal while people were in stores to have Halo sitting on those shelves. And I know there was pressure there to get it on the anniversary date. I would have loved that. But even if it's a couple of weeks, I really like that they have waited until that deep into the cycle. But I still want another look at the campaign. I thought this was the time to do so. And that's not even getting into the side tangent that I could go all day about when it comes to this fucking showcase that they held.
Oh, God.
Where, another thing about if it's good or bad, but that you see how much now with opening night live concluded, Xbox held for that show, and that Halo was just in the middle. Like, I thought, oh, this is a show ender, maybe a show starter, right? Like, it's a big deal, release date, new trailer. And it's like just in the middle there. It's just like, here you go. I'm like, why didn't we do this on our own stage? Jez, maybe you have the answers on that one. I got to turn to you real quick because you seem to know that it was going to end up that way. So do you know why Xbox made this call?
No. No.
It's so weird.
I found out like a couple of days ago, and I was just like, no. Really?
Yeah.
Really? But I think they like Geoff Keighley.
Yes.
That's my take.
Okay.
And I quite like Geoff too. I liked his jacket and his shoes very much during the show.
His jacket was quality today, I mean, or today as we record this.
Really, I'm going to steal his jacket.
Yeah.
That's how I was resolved to steal Jeff's jacket. But, you know, I think ultimately that's what it's about. Like, it's about, like, Geoff. I think Geoff made this happen. Maybe it was a good thing, given the pacing of the other show.
Oh God, yeah, I can't.
That's fair.
I got things to say.
I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just watched a little bit and thought,
I think I'm the curse.
Nah.
I ever since I started doing these reaction streams to anything Xbox does for a showcase, you know, really with like Twitch at ID at Xbox, it's really just been a real poor presentation after poor presentation. I'm like, damn, maybe I just gotta take a stream off and they'll get it right. Like, I'll just sit there as a spectator, like, okay,
jigs.
Yeah. God, what do you think of everything Halo? Sorry, Jez, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, like, I just wish they'd just steal Nintendo's format.
I know.
Yeah, especially with indies. Oh God, yes. Yeah.
Just steal Nintendo's format.
Steal it.
They showed you how to do it.
Yep.
It's right there.
PlayStation did it.
Take it.
Yeah,
PlayStation did it. Yeah. Just do it. Less fluff. You know, developers minimally, and if so, not on screen as much. Less personalities. Showcase the games. Pacing. Move forward. I'm with you on that, Jez. I got a lot to say.
Let's go.
First off, you know, when the announcement happened about no co-op in Forge, it crushed me. It really crushed. Campaign co-op really crushed me. That is something historically, you know, I realized when I did my Halo history, I've never not played Halo co-op campaign. It was almost a tradition that, you know, you get your friends, you crank it up on Legendary, you know, and you try to do that. And it was just this kind of, you know, fun, you know, tradition that I've always done. So it did hurt. Now, I'm a person, in fairness, that even though something directly affects me, if it's for the greater good of the game, then I'm going to say, you know what? Okay, I'll sacrifice that if the data shows or the telemetry shows something else, right? But to me, it was, I guess, where I really struggled with the mindset and the community was this overbearing thought process. It has to come out this year. It has to come out. Because I would challenge people on the other side, like, hey, why, you know, let's be honest, you know, Halo, that is a core pillar. You know, you have the campaign, co-op, you have multiplayer, right? So for people that it is shipped every single iteration prior, right? You know, why are you so hell-bent that it must come out? And they were just like, look, you got to hit it, the 20th anniversary, you know, at some points, you know, they would use the statistics, look at the people who didn't play, you know, co-op campaign as far as achievement, finishing and stuff like that. And I get it. You know, the only thing it was just interesting to me because to me, where I was emotional about it was that in this industry, every other game we say, yo, they delayed it. Good. Take your time.
Yes.
Take your time, right? This is what I hear. We hear the Miyamoto quote, take your time. And I'm like, and they cheer it. They celebrate. The community gets behind it. And we just came off of Cyberpunk, right? Where the boardroom made a decision that ultimately tarnished the great reputation, right, of this franchise. And it's just like, you know, so that was just my thing. Like, why is the community so, you know, gung-ho with that? So it is what it is. Now let's fast forward to the two shows. The Gamescom show, yeah, I was very upset. Like, why isn't Halo here? Like, what's going on? We went through the whole thing, no Halo. What's going on? And now to where we are now, which is the Geoff Keighley thing. And to Jez's point, you know, Yeah, they love Geoff. You know, to Jez's point, we have to admit his influence is tremendous.
Mhm.
You're going to get the eyes of the non-Xbox fan. You're going to get you're going to get the most eyes on his show. There's no doubt about it, you know. So I understood the play, but it just made me question, well, why did you even have a show to begin with?
Yeah.
Because you could have I mean, they literally showed how you pronounce it? Just Trebuchets and Age of Empire on. It was the History Channel I was watching on Xbox stream.
Yeah.
They had them outside. They with cannonballs and trebuchets. They did not show the trebuchet in the game, but I watched Geoff's show. I get to see the game. I'm like, wow, this game looks cool.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I see that on the Xbox? And shout out to Paris because I love Paris. Love Paris. Phenomenal job. Paris is the homie. Kate. Love those guys are great and gal. But to me, I just didn't understand why that show was necessary if you're going to give Geoff all these things anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it. To the last point, the console, with all this bloviation, I'm not going to lie, when I saw the controller.
I knew it.
Jez, I got weak. I had the button up there. I was so distracted, Maddie. We're live streaming with the Lords. I'm not even paying any other game. I'm going to Microsoft.com.
No,
I'm like, where's pre-order, bro? Because I'm an elite controller guy. Oh, I got that controller, bro.
Wow.
Bro,
I saw the $200 price tag. I went, fuck you, no.
You got to understand, bro. I am a sucker for that stuff. Paddles on the back and extra, you know, with my FPS, bro. That's me. The geek in me loves this stuff, right? So they got me. I was going to almost go all the way with the console, but I'm like, I really don't need it. Let me stop.
I did it out of... I'm even trying to white knight when I said
no, go for it.
I didn't touch that limited console. That was the one I looked at and went, all right, I kind of like that. Now I was looking into it and I thought to myself, hey, do I really need a second Series X? Like someone in line probably wants this and needs it. Like I don't need to go get a limited edition console. So I talked myself out of it because that was the one that for me, I have this weird philosophy with limited controllers and cosmetic ones. Like Xbox is promoting the controller lab and I'm like, yeah, it's cool. But like, my eyes are up here, man. They're up at the screen. Like I'm not. I look at it once, so I pick it up, and that's it for like 3 hours now. To me, the console makes more sense. Like it's a talking point. You know, you walk in, and like, oh, it's a Halo console. It's like, you're a Halo fan. It's like, I feel like that's a bigger deal. That's more important. And you at least see it, right? At least in my case, it's in view, so it's like, there's something there, but. I think you made such strong points. You know, because the thing is I've just accepted they need to get this out in 2021 because it seems like there's pressure from all ends. But you make such a strong point on the idea that why is 343 facing this pressure? And the only thing I can think of is it's been so long, right? Is it just time? Like eventually you just got to get this out, get the ball rolling. What I didn't like was in this stream where they talked about delaying these features is Joe Staten, and I feel bad because he came in late to fix this game. He should not be the guy who's just getting destroyed for this.
Where you gonna go?
But he did say, you know, oh, it's a service game. This evolves, and I'm just sitting there just like, no, these are fucking core features, man. Like the Forge, sure, it can come a little bit later. We've seen that with Halo 5 to some extent, but like co-op, we're talking, oh, it's a service game, it evolves, and so we're gonna add this stuff over time. It's like, no, that's not what people signed up for. That's the one thing I fear with, like, we talked about this, Cog. You and I had an episode about it with Assassin's Creed Infinity, GTA Evolving Map, Halo Infinite. I was like, these games as a platform terrify me because a lot of people were bending over backwards for 343 when these features got delayed. And I don't want to be dramatic or extreme on them because I think there is an understanding to what Jez said. He's a perfect representation of that. For some people, they don't care. And that's fine. Right. It makes complete sense. It does not impact them personally. I understand why. But what's happening is there's been a lot of bending over backwards because people are looking at 343 and they're looking at Game Pass and going, well, I don't got to pay for it. It's like you're still selling the game. And there are still going to be people who are buying it for $60, $70. And at that point, they need to ship something feature complete. And we don't know how long this campaign will be, right? With this open world segments. It could be even longer. And I would imagine it's longer than any other Halo game. We don't know the suite of modes within Halo Infinite's multiplayer. We know Slayer and we know Big Team Battle. There's still so much yet to be told to help determine if that price tag is fair, but they are still selling a product. And I think that we should be always holding these companies accountable. This has nothing to even do with Halo at this point or 343. Just in general, we got to be saying to these companies, like, give me the best you've got and not this, well, it's Game Pass because that's how you soften the blow for so many other launches. They're going to see you. They're going to see that feedback online and be like, Oh, so you're cool with this?
Yeah.
Okay. And Xbox has been guilty of the past. They want to see what they can get away with. All companies are doing that. Xbox Live Gold, they tried to up the price of that. They want to see what they can do, right? Xbox, the good guys with Game Pass, but they tried to up Gold. I mean, I'm just asking people, you don't got to be pissed, right? I'm not calling for outrage, fake outrage. We hate that shit.
Of
but
course.
Just be critical of
it's
type
okay.
of stuff.
It's okay.
I think you got to agree with me, right? If they don't think it's a big deal, that's it. But I'm just saying some people were really like, well, it's in Game Pass, so who cares? I'm like, what?
Exactly. You see that I gotta cut you because that was I got crucified on my own podcast. I was like the only person. The Lords were coming for me. King, Saul, they all. Attic was on my side, but everyone was coming for me, and they were just like, "Look, COG has got to come out." And I'm like, we talk about that. We talk about the quality, and we talk. I'm just cognizant of there is a narrative right now, right, which is. For some people who don't necessarily are fans of Game Pass, right? And they'll say, hey, this is Microsoft sometimes just kind of allowing things from a quality control standpoint to come out in certain states because, hey, it's in Game Pass. Obviously we had the Outrider situation. Me and you talked in depth on Define and Duke Ultimate about Ascent and some of the issues we had that prevented it from being something really special. And now it's like, oh, Halo. Oh, don't worry. We'll get that to you. And I know what you're saying with Staten with the live service comment when he said like, okay, these games are really not complete. And then at a certain point, we continue to add everybody rolls out. Like I know where you was at, bro. Like that's I felt it to my core. And I just don't want that to become a theme. Right. And the last point I'll say, as a Destiny fan, watching the Destiny stream prior, I saw them really promoting the Bungie anniversary, right? And they were promoting Halo heavily. And I thought that was very interesting. You know what I mean? And just because usually Destiny streams they act like Halo doesn't exist sometimes, even though it came from them. So I thought the timing of that in December, and I said it on stream, I have a funny feeling, like a day before, Halo's going to drop in December. Because it coincides. And the final point I'll make is, again, with the boardroom and it having to come out this year, is y'all know me. I like my geek swag. I even got a Halo shirt on today. Right? I love my geek swag. But I'll tell you one thing. If you go, this for months now, Halo 20th anniversary, right? I've been trying to they got the cups, they got the shirts, it's got the gold 20, it's got massive, it's some sick looking geek drip. I need this in my life. I could not just find this thing. It's been sold out for months. Like the marketing behind it, like Halo has its own section in the Xbox Gear Store. So I was like, wow, this is tremendous that they are. I even have the thing to email me, let me know when it's back in stock. Never back in stock. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, this is extremely important from a marketing standpoint. And it just led me to believe this is another reason why this game has to come out this year. And I just worry for the quality of the game that when we get this game, Maddie, I hope the polish is there. Yeah. I hope that not waiting 3 to 6 months that the game should need is there. But I'm curious with y'all. That's my last rant.
Yeah, you set up the spotlight perfectly where it's like, now what happens with these lack of features? I wish I said this in my initial tangent because it probably would have made it more digestible for the listener. But now that you've removed features, what happens is every other feature that's left remaining is put under a microscope. It's not just Halo once again. This happens with every game. Reviewers do it constantly because now there's less to focus on. So you just got to really that campaign needs to be good. Those story faux pas that you saw in Halo 5 had to be non-existent now. Right. Multiplayer can't just be fun. It's got to be balanced. It's got to be you got to feel like on launch, we've got it, right? Like this is the package. That's the feeling that they've created by removing stuff. And of course, the wait amps up that anxiety and that anticipation. But yeah, man, Halo Infinite this December. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. All right, let's get into number 2. We talked a lot about that Gamescom show. Now, I need to specify when we say opening night live, that's Keighley's show. We're going to talk about Xbox's Gamescom stream first. It sure was something we got a list of announcements for you that we're going to run through, and then we'll just talk about them individually. So Forza Horizon 5 unveiled its cover car, the Mercedes-AMG 1 and the 2021 Ford Bronco Badlands. They also showed 8 minutes of beautiful gameplay. Age of Empires 4 showed off a documentary on trebuchets. It is one of 28 unlockable videos as part of its hands-on history storytelling element for the game. This holiday, Xbox Cloud Gaming comes to consoles. Microsoft Flight Simulator gets World Update 6, which celebrates the region of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland.
Woo.
This will also be adding racing to the game this November as part of the partnership with the Renault Air Racing Association. On September 1st, State of Decay 2 fans can return to where it all started in an update branded Homecoming, which takes players back to a remastered version of Trumbull Valley, the first game's map. It will also feature new stories, achievements, weapons, and 6 new bases. Continuing on with that post-apocalyptic vibe, Wasteland 3 Colorado Collection has been unveiled. This will drop October 5th, featuring Battle for Steel Town and the newly announced Cult of the Holy Detonation. The package will charge you $60, while the newest and final add-on will run owners of the game $7 separately. Next, Crusader Kings 3 arrives to next-gen consoles later this year. By the way, not exclusive. This is also on PlayStation. Humble Bundle brings its indie games to Xbox Game Pass day one. Those games are the already available Dodgeball Academia. You can play that right now. Archvale, Bushiden, Chinatown Detective Agency, Flynn, Son of Crimson, Midnight Fight Express, Next Space Rebels, Signalis, Unpacking, and Unsighted. Nearing the end here, Stray Blade was revealed and it's releasing 2022 for next-gen consoles only. Also, by the way, I need to emphasize here, not exclusive, just a reveal. And lastly, the Gunk reemerges and is arriving this December, where it'll surely outperform Halo Infinite. So that's all we got from Xbox's Gamescom showcase. I know there's not a rich amount to pick from here, but gentlemen, anything here excite you? I don't know. That might be a little bit of hyperbolic, but like anything here just catch your interest? Jez, how'd you feel about the whole thing?
Fucking love trebuchets, man.
Damn it, Jez. Damn it.
Nah, trebuchets are pretty sick, man. The engineering that goes into a trebuchet, man. But nah, like, I think for me, the most exciting thing was the Wasteland DLC. Probably,
we're all Wasteland fan here.
Yeah, I haven't done the other Wasteland DLC because it's like, well, I'll have to start a whole new playthrough to do the DLC, and then they'll release another DLC, and I'll have to do another playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just thinking, I'll wait till they're all out. And then I'll do another playthrough. Same with the Outer Worlds too. Like the way that some of these games handle DLC is just a bit strange to me.
You'd rather be like post story, right? Not like in the middle. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it'd be better if they were post story. Like you could take your character and just carry on playing. But I guess depending on some certain decisions you make, there might not be a post story. So also the State of Decay thing was interesting. Like the fact that they still keep supporting that game is mind blowing to me. But it also makes me think, like, if they're putting this much effort into State of Decay 2, what's going on with State of Decay 3?
I thought that was the same. I thought the same exact thing. Rather, I immediately saw that and went, "This is impressive." Because if they're making progress with State of Decay 3 and they're just dropping this, because they did mention it as a remaster, they called it so I don't know if that. Usually remasters are termed as something easier for game development compared to like making something from the ground up. So maybe that's how they were able to do this.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly have barely jumped back into State of Decay since they've put so many updates into it. I put about like 50 hours into it originally. And then I just kind of dropped off. Like the whole gameplay loop of killing plague hearts over and over again gets really old after a while. I wish they'd add like more mechanics and not just more weapons or whatever.
I do agree.
Big time.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Juggernaut Edition's what pulled me back in. I thought that was really impressive for what they had to do. But I'm the same way where I would love to see some more gameplay mechanics be thrown in, because they're always like, new maps, new weapons, new stories. I don't know about both of you, but when it comes to me, I couldn't tell you a thing about a State of Decay story at all.
Yeah. It's basically create your own. That's why I love it so much. I mean, it's my own resource management, the bases and stuff like that. That stuff excites me about State of Decay. I'm totally with Jez. The Plague Heart stuff kind of got redundant, but continue, Jez. You were going on with what else you like.
Like, add fishing to the game, man.
There he is. There he is. Vintage Jez.
Let me fish some plague fish or something. I don't know.
Plague fish.
Yeah, I don't know. But But yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of stuff there. There was some really cool indies that were shown off.
Mhm.
I'm going to go back and collate some of those into an article
Mhm.
there. But they did kind of like try. Aaron Greenberg tried to set some expectations, not to expect like
Yes.
Perfect Dark or Hellblade or anything like that. It was
Of
like
course.
updates to known games. I kind of wish there would have been something more interesting, like a guess, even if it was just like 30 seconds of gameplay for Hellblade would have done me,
Yeah.
or 30
Mhm.
seconds of gameplay for State of Decay 3 or whatever. But Microsoft really likes they like to do this like this thing where they tease a game with a cool CGI trailer and then they don't tell you anything for years, years, and then the game gets cancelled. Hi, Scalebound. Hi, Phantom Dust. Let's not jinx anything. Touch wood. Not my wood, like actual wood. But nah. But yeah, it was an interesting show. I almost feel like they could have condensed it, make it more Nintendo Direct-y. Like, I do love the State IP and I do love the Wasteland IP. So I'm glad we're seeing more of that stuff. But yeah, I guess like for the big heavy hitters, we need to wait for another show. And they do love Geoff Keighley, so maybe the Game Awards is the next big one. Though I have heard there might be the Tokyo Game Show as well this year.
Oh.
So maybe something there too. Because Microsoft is enjoying its biggest ever, thing in Japan right now. Like they're selling more consoles than ever in Japan, which is a low bar.
Yes. Let's
be honest. It's a low bar.
I feel you.
But
yes.
Considering PlayStation's collapse in Japan, I feel like there's no better time than right now to try and push Xbox in Japan. So I think being at the Tokyo Game Show with some heavy hitter would be a pretty cool thing to do. So
Sega.
Persona on Xbox.
Sega. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I wasn't expecting much, and
neither was I. That's why I was so shocked. I was disappointed. I went in with flat expectations, as in zero. Like if anything, I guess you could say I was expecting it to not be great, but I didn't think anything was going to blow me away, right? So even with that in mind, I just thought this was it didn't need to exist. There's no disrespect to the host, right? But like, there is no reason this show had to exist. I am right there with Jez, not to really echo him too hard here, but yeah, Wasteland 3 Colorado Collection. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, right? That's an easy purchase. Now, one distinguishment I want to make for the audience before they ask it all is this collection comes with a DLC, whereas if you were to get the game on Game Pass, you only get the base game. So you still have to pay for the DLC. Yes. So just keep that in mind when you're shopping around Wasteland 3. But yeah, State of Decay 2 was a one that stuck out to me. Now, there was a game that we saw more of at Geoff Keighley's show, opening night live. And that game was Midnight Fight Express.
Oh, talk to me, baby.
This is an indie game coming through Humble Bundle. It's going to be day one on Game Pass. It's made by one person who's, Geoff Keighley said, was a 30-year-old Polish father. Mm-hmm. One person. And all I'm saying is take all that Sifu hype, right? Yes. And share it here. Because we love Sifu right now because of that kung fu action. Looks smooth, kind of has a mix of Arkham and like a little bit of crunchiness to it. And then I'm looking at this, and you see more environmental interactions. It's smooth. The animations are beautiful. I mean, it just looks amazing. Like, it's on my must-play list. Like, it's up there with the indies of like replaced that Xbox is pushing. To me, this is the most exciting reveal they had because I looked at it and went like, yes, if anything, Xbox needs to drive in two areas, right? We talked about Japan a ton. Jez just emphasized it. I think they need to keep pushing indies. Indies want to go to Game Pass, right? Like, they want that player count. They want to be there. And they are getting some really good-looking games through it. And I think they need to keep pushing that initiative. And so that and Bushiden as well, I thought both looked amazing. I thought Bushiden would be the game you'd be going, ooh, about that.
Bro,
ninja action.
You know me. Yeah. I was in. You know how I think. Yeah. If you're finished,
no, I'm done. Yeah, I could sit here and roast this show all day, but I'll save the audience, right?
Both of you guys said everything as far as the need, the necessity for the show, right? Mm-hmm. We both agree there. It was definitely light for me, but overall, there was some titles that I thought looked good. Age of Empires or Forza. I mean, they didn't show it there, but Forza I did think Microsoft Flight Simulator shows good. I was surprised that we got like some type of PvP mode or something like that. That I thought that was interesting
racing.
addition.
I didn't know if there was anything beyond that, but
right. To me, it was like State of Decay. Pleasant surprise, like you said. Didn't expect more of it. Wasteland, didn't expect more content from it. So all the stuff for 2021, I'm like, okay, I get it. But I was disappointed in another reason, which was like, where was Scorn? Where's Bright Memory Infinite? You know, Crossfire X we did eventually get, you know, on Geoff's show, which we'll get into. But, you know, there were a couple there. And as far as overall, I looked at it, the indies got a chance to shine here. And I'm totally with you. You know, Midnight Express pushing in that was it. And last disappointment was the Gunk was like very small, very light.
Yeah, I was going to say that was one thing I wanted to spotlight once more before we move on. It reemerged as coming out. They didn't even say a release date. They put that in the wire. Like, I think it was just a bad trailer because they didn't even put their date there, and they had a date ready, which is it's coming out this December. And I actually thought it was a more encouraging showing of the game. Yeah. It showed how more serious it is than I thought, just based off your name, the Gunk. Like, I'm sorry, doesn't really sound that serious. I know Carrick used to crank on Avowed Man, but like I don't know why we weren't putting that energy into the Gunk. That's what my head was at.
Yeah, the Gunk might be one of them.
I was like, dude, there's just something wrong about that name, right? There's a lot of innuendos that could be tied to that, but beyond that. It reminded me a little bit of like Blink's the Time Sweeper in a way. And I was really into that. It's been a while since we've seen something kind of like that. And I'd love, on a side note, if Xbox somehow managed to bring that back. But the Gunk, I thought looked better and it should have had a little bit more time, but they sort of showed it, moved on. And that was really unfortunate because that was one of the games people were waiting for updates on.
Big time.
But the true show really was opening night live, where we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Some really exciting, I thought, some less so. So let's go through all of it in the bulk of announcements through this 2-hour show hosted by Geoff Keighley. For starters, Saints Row reboot. It's coming February 2022. Marvel Midnight Suns, COG, all over this one. Tactical RPG by Firaxis coming March 2022. Cult of the Lamb was announced. Also, they showed more Midnight Fight Express, emphasizing this is coming to Game Pass and it will be arriving summer 2022. Then, got the shirt on, baby. TMNT, Shredder's Revenge. No fucking release date. But you can play as April O'Neil. Team Attacks, reviving via pizza, looking sharp. Cannot wait for this game. Afterwards, they kept the good times rolling. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. It's arriving October 5th. You'll have 12 party games. And Morgana from Persona 5 will be joining that roster of Sega characters. Splitgate Season 0 will begin with a new map and infection mode right now. Riders Republic beta is up until August 28th. UFL was revealed. It's a free-to-play soccer game across all major platforms. So that's going to be an interesting experiment, I think, given that sports games are sort of in limbo right now.
Yeah.
We finally got an update for Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, a new trailer showcasing a galaxy map, which takes you to all different parts of Lego. It looks incredible, and it's coming spring 2022. The Outlast Trials was shown off. You can either play by yourself or with 3 other players in multiplayer. That will be launching 2022. This one was weird. Doke V. It's this creature collecting game that is one of the most psychedelic, weird trailers you'll see. It's very long too, and it's like an MMO. They didn't give a release window as far as I saw when I was watching it, but I was also if you go back and watch my reaction, my mouth was just like hanging open a hair because I was so caught by what this game was offering. Nearing the end of the list, Jurassic World Evolution got a release date of November 9th, 2021. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, not Bloodlines 2, by the way, for those who are wondering, enters early access September 7th. This is the Battle Royale Vampire the Masquerade game. Yeah. Very fitting for the brand, I'm sure.
Jez is shaking his head.
Dude, it's so disgusting. Park Beyond comes to PC and next-gen consoles next year. Jet the Far Shore arrives on PS5, PS4, and Epic Game Store for those of you on PC October 5th. Horizon Forbidden West finds its way into the showcase as well with its own release date, February 18th, 2022. It has also an enhanced performance patch coming to Horizon Complete Edition on PS5 right now. New World will have an open beta from September 9th to the 12th ahead of its launch. at the end of that month. Replace got a small teaser really focusing on music in the trailer, which I guess people really liked because they dedicated a whole trailer to it. Here we are, Age of Empires 4. It had a new gameplay trailer.
Gameplay, wow.
Yeah, gameplay. Didn't know that was going to be available.
Yeah.
It showed off 2 campaigns, the 100 Years' War and Rise to Moscow, and also the Holy Roman Empire as a new civilization. Crossfire X, another game we were wondering about, just coming soon, but they showed off some maps, looks pretty sharp, showed off the campaign. Remedy has said, as we covered last week on Defining Duke, that this game is going to be ready for 2021, so we'll see when. Last but not least, Sifu arrives February 22nd, 2022, and then they had an extended look at Death Stranding Director's Cut. Don't really care about that, though.
Yeah.
But where do we start with this one? We actually got some good stuff to talk about here. I mean, lots of games. Of course, by the way, I didn't mention it because we talked about it at the top, but Halo Infinite release date was in the mix of all this. So where do you want, Cog? I kind of want to put you on the spot here and pass it to you with Midnight Suns.
Oh.
I know CGI. Look, I know CGI, but
Jez is shaking his head. Why is Jez shaking? I got to know why Jez is shaking his head. I got to know why, though, before I talk.
Oh, you're muted. So he's a pissed off Jez screaming.
He's so pissed off he muted. I love it.
XCOM died for this.
Oh, that's why. Oh, I get it now. Okay.
Died for this.
Listen, I hear you, brother, and I do want my XCOM 3. You know we're the XCOM bros. We are team turn based. I'm with you. This is just a different little. This is the intermission before we get our baby, right? Now, the Marvel fanboy in me, Jez, I'm not gonna lie. I am curious. I want to see, and just like he doesn't like. He feels as a bastard. He's like, I'm gonna push back against you. Look, I am curious. I want to know what this is about, and I'm a Marvel fanboy. I want to see them in this whole thing. Now, obviously, you cannot play as the characters. I guess they're going to be support characters, stuff like that. But then I'm hearing also that it's not purely in the vein of XCOM. So that's the only concern.
Right.
Like, what are we really doing? Because if that's the case, and it's a departure, then I'll side back with Jez. And I'll say, okay, then XCOM down for that.
Wait, so you said real quickly, you said like Blade, Doctor Strange, they're not going to be playable?
No. I heard that that they are not playable initially. That's there's new information.
I'm just looking at a Polygon article.
What does it say? Please tell me.
It says
playing as them?
Turn-based RPG shares 0 mechanics with XCOM, won't include permadeath. But it says Firaxis confirmed that Iron Man, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Blade, Nico, Minoru, Magic, Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider, and Wolverine will all be playable.
Oh, sorry. I stand corrected.
No, I just want to make sure because I
thank you for correcting me. I did not know because the initial rumor coming in was, I don't want to put in the person's name on the spot, but the rumors coming in was that you weren't going to play as them. So that excites me a little bit more. But the thing where I got to give Jez credit is I did want it in the kind of traditional format. So but I need to see it. I'm just curious. I want to know what's going on. But that was for me.
Yeah, that
was all for me.
So yeah, Polygon did a full interview with them, and it says you'll play missions with up to 3 heroes as you develop the hunter's powers. When you're not in combat, an open world area will help you form bonds with fellow heroes.
Mm-hmm. So you're not them. Like, so you them or you not them?
You play as they built a whole new superhero for this game that you play as.
Right.
Which I thought was actually really cool. I like that Marvel gave them that freedom. And the villain group that they're playing against, I've also never seen. So that's what has me excited, right? We're not getting into this familiar grounds. I think that's going to be cool. Because there's one thing I liked about Spider-Man on PS4 was, when you bring in, what's his name? Mr. Negative? Is that his name? Right. You bring him in. I've never heard of him before. He was like this comic book villain, and that was really it. And so when you brought him to the table, I was like, oh, I'm about this.
Mr.
I have my browser up right now. So is that his name?
Jez is laughing.
Actually, I don't know.
I just hate Marvel. I just hate it.
Oh, come on,
I just hate it. It's too colorful. It's too happy. They always win, man. It's
not like this, Jez. Not like this.
I'm too British for Marvel. Captain America. Where's Captain Britain? Is that a thing?
So I take it you're a DC man. You're a man of culture. You're a DC man.
I enjoy the more depressing tone of DC generally.
Okay,
I'm generally not. I've tried Marvel, man. I watched the first Avengers movie on a wicked hangover, and I was just like, this is terrible. And I tried watching Iron Man, and I was just like,
oh, come on.
what?
He's so disrespectful. Right? He is so disrespectful. Like, he is born led. We're going to have to look at these invites, but man, I don't know if I can take this. I don't know if I can. I'm emotional. He got me in my feelings now. That's my man. Jez is my guy. I actually like when Jez rips stuff that people like. I think it's the funniest thing. Like, he doesn't like Halo. I think it's the funniest thing. But continue.
Yeah, you like it. Not liking Halo is such a plot twist. I
love it. It's funny.
It's so good. It's so good. If you're a fan, if you like those kind of, I don't know what you call them.
At first, I thought when we saw this game, it was Ultimate Alliance 4. I was like, yo, what? I didn't think this would be the Firaxis games. Gameplay reveals in September. I'm very excited to see this one.
Is this the first time that was announced? Sorry.
It leaked. It leaked at E3. It leaked. I think Jason Schreier had leaked it. And then everyone thought it would be there. And then Take-Two said in an investor's call, they're like, we have a big game that's going to impact our quarterly earnings by fiscal 2022. And we're like, it's got to be Firaxis. It's
got to be. We knew it.
And it's got to be the Marvel game. What's funny is when we were predicting that, I always find this hilarious, is we both at the same time forgot about this game. And then we were like, it's got to be a Marvel. And we're like, wait, didn't a Marvel game from 2K leak?
Yes.
So, yeah, beyond that, though, we've got a lot of other games to talk about. What did y'all think of Saints Row and its showing? I was not looking for goofiness, gents. I was not looking for goofiness. I don't want to make this too negative, but I just was not looking for the fun, happy, going reverse on the top of a building, hey, asshole, shooting a rocket launcher that we saw in this trailer. Because in my opinion, the time was now to strike with a true crime story. Something serious, something gritty. Because everyone's looking for that new GTA. You got Watch Dogs in the corner over there that's kind of trying to find its relevancy. This was your time to bring back Saints Row to the Saints Row 1, Saints Row 2 days. And it doesn't look, I don't think it'll be Saints Row 3 and 4, but it doesn't look like they're going full grittiness. And I'm going to keep an open mind. It looks a lot more like, on a graphical level, Agents of Mayhem, but I was a little disappointed by this showing. Where do you guys fall on this one?
Too happy.
I'm not a Saints. Yeah, I'm not a Saints Row guy. So for me, when I saw this, I was like, this is not motivating me to get into this series still. Okay. I'm good, but that's just me. Not really.
Do you know how it made me feel?
No.
How made you feel, Jez?
It made me feel old. There's a dude running around here with a kawaii Japanese helmet. There's memes flying all over the place. There's people with haircuts. I'm just sitting there thinking, am I out of touch? Is this what's cool now? It looked like a Fortnite trailer, man. It looked terrible for me.
Yeah, right.
For me,
I think that art style's got to.
Now.
No, I don't think you are, because I think, in all fairness, we can legitimately argue that this art style needs to just be left to Fortnite, because any game that falls into that, I think, is in a dangerous area. Maybe we're not seeing the numbers, right? But I don't think more people are buying them when they see art style and go, yo, it's like Fortnite. I think, at least from a core gamer standpoint, people are looking at it going, oh, fuck, it looks like Fortnite. Like, it's not an inventive art style anymore. Right. And hasn't been for a while, since it got very popular. And we saw a couple copycats come in, right?
Yeah.
What did you guys think of? All right, how about this?
Matt is over here being all diplomatic. I'm just going to say it.
If there's one way you could date yourself, though, right? It would be with Lego Star Wars, Jez. That's one game that could make you feel old. So what do you think of Skywalker Saga? I mean, did this tickle your fancy?
Well, we talked about how Saints Row stole Fortnite's art style. The Lego game stole Halo's art style. What's that about?
Whoa. Jez. We're going to blacklist you now.
I've actually never played a Lego game in my life. Except for Halo.
What? Wow.
The Halo one. Okay.
I've never played a Lego game. I've never played one, ever.
Have you just not been interested?
I just have no joy in my life.
I'm gonna start giving you that joy, right? Like, the step one was bringing you here on this show. You get a couple laughs. The next step is in spring. I'll gift you the game, right? I'll gift it to you. I'll be like, Jez, smile, man. Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga is in your library. You can hold me to it. Message me. I'll just be like, all right. Because
we got it.
I was gonna say, I remember with King when he was all big on Biomutant, right?
Oh, he was going hard for Biomutant.
Yeah. And I remember I was like, I gotta mail him a letter of apology.
Yeah.
I never did it because I was like, this is probably a dick move. I'm gonna talk to King outside of one show, and I'm about to send a letter to his house being like, Dear King, I'd like to let you know that actually Biomutant is not that good.
Dear King. Yeah, he was going hard. I mean, I hear Jez, man. You know, some games it just ain't for everybody, man. Just ain't for everybody.
Am I alone on this mountain here?
No, it looked cool to me. I thought it looked cool. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the first person aspect of it. And I'm not like a big Star Wars guy, but I thought it showed well. I thought it looked fun, goofy, what Lego is supposed to be. You know what I mean? So, you know, you get for the Star Wars geeks, you know, get it up on. I liked it. I like the camera angles that they showed. And it's usually with the gunplay, and I think it was kind of like over the shoulder.
Yeah, it was a little tighter.
Yeah, it was a little tighter. So I was like, nah. I said, that's going to sell. People love that.
Hell yeah.
It's on.
It was a little bit further out than I wanted it to be, though. Spring 2022, I was a little disappointed by that. I was thinking they would surprise us this year, but sorry, go on. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, outside of that, I was surprised to see Crossfire X.
You were surprised to? Okay, let's get into that.
I was, because I was worried. I was like, what's going on? You know, are we doing it? Are we not doing it? And I thought it looked good. I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, yo, that actually looks really impressive graphically. So, you know, we still don't got the hard and fast date, but this is a weird situation, right? Isn't it like Remedy doing the narrative, Jez?
Yeah.
Like, what's the situation with Crossfire X? Is it like split team development?
From what I understand, Remedy have already finished the campaign.
Okay.
They've finished all their work on the game months ago, is what I've heard. And so the holdup is Smilegate over on the other side. Gotcha. Tying it together, you know, the multiplayer and all that stuff, sort of making it into a package. So I've heard that he's on track for 2021. I think Remedy said that as well.
Yeah, they did.
It's out of Remedy's hands. They've done the work they needed to do, from what I've heard, and so we just have to wait and see. You know.
Okay.
I think it's a game that can potentially surprise a lot of people. It looked pretty strong.
It looked strong to me. I was just like, wow, graphic looks strong. And of course, for Maddie, I was thinking about you. The Temos comes up. I see the TMNT. Yeah. I see April dropping mics, pizzas, 90s. I'm like, I'm home. This is Turtles, baby. Dude, let's go.
Dude, I loved the outfit they gave April O'Neil because I don't think you can, no, you can't see it, but like in my hallway, I've got the turtle cabinet, the arcade cabinet that One Up was selling. And it's got that April O'Neil in like the yellow jumpsuit and the microphone.
Vintage.
Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, yo, like they get it. And then you see the team attacks, right? That's something that they managed to get this a clear nostalgia attack on you, right? Like they're assaulting you with it. But then they evolve it a little bit. Like the team attacks are something that is so key to the Ninja Turtles that really no game has ever captured. Well, I should say. There are games that I've played a disgusting amount of TMNT games and just they do them, but there are ones like Out of the Shadows. Shout out to that downloadable Xbox Live game. I thought it was all right. Although it's like got a 3 on Metacritic. You know, it's besides the point. But that game tried to do team attacks and more Arkham style combat. And like I think it's the closest they ever got. And so this one, when you see like Raph leap into April's hands and she like springs him, I think that's really encouraging sign of what's to come. Also, your boy went full in-depth analysis. I noticed on the art, April lined up on the right side. There's space on that left side. So I think there's going to be more. And I just thought that was overall a treat. I thought this was going to be just a typical TMNT romp. You know, you got the turtles, you go through a couple levels. It's 4 hours long. That's it. More characters though.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. I hope they almost create 2 squads. It's something that I gotta get into my TMNT bag a little bit here.
Yeah, good.
There's a game called
TMNT. What's better than TMNT?
What do you have? Wait, did you say bad?
He said better.
Do you know what's better than TMNT?
Oh, better. Okay, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Biker Mice from Mars.
What is this?
Ooh, what's this? Put us on.
You don't know what Biker Mice from Mars is? Was that a British thing?
That gotta be a British thing. I'm
Well,
Googling it.
I'm baffled.
The joke falls flat if you don't know what it is. But Biker Mice from Mars
I'm
was
looking at it
just
right
a
now.
total rip-off of TMNT.
Oh, I'm seeing it right now. Yes, it's a Super Nintendo joint. Wow.
It's like a kids' TV show. It was basically TMNT, but instead of mutant turtles, it's mutant biker mice.
Biker Mice. I'm looking at this now. This is
Was that the British show?
Wow.
But that was a show.
I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I'm really hoping some of the people listening to this show know what I'm talking about, so I don't look like a total idiot.
Oh my.
But what about Street Sharks? You know that one?
No,
dude.
No, hold on.
There is a range of TMNT knockoffs. There's a whole world. There's a whole world you have yet to explore, my friend.
Is it Strange Sharks? Is that
Street Sharks?
Oh,
so these were mutant sharks. Have you seriously not heard of this stuff?
Oh my, yeah. This you can even see in the key art. Like, yeah, this is 100% TMNT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're all coming out in different directions. It's got the logo at the top.
Yeah, there was a huge amount of knockoffs, and for some reason, I don't know if this is a UK thing as well. I didn't really get TMNT on TV very much. Maybe the rights were too expensive for British TV channels, so we got a lot of the knockoffs. We got your Biker Mice from Mars and your Street Sharks.
Yeah, because it says series aired 93 to 96 in US, but UK, 94 to 97. Yeah, it was big. It looked like it was big.
Biker Mice
knockoffs. I didn't even know about these TMT knockoffs. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm being educated.
That's what I had as a child. I couldn't afford TMNT.
You had to knock off.
In fact, here's something you might not know. It wasn't even called TMNT in the UK.
No, what was it called?
It was censored.
Censored?
It was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in the UK.
What?
Because they decided the word ninja was too violent. Seriously, look that up. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
I would never.
That's what it was called in the UK.
This is killing my ninja soul right now. What? I never knew that. Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles?
Yeah. I want to go a little bit deeper. Biker Mice from Mars has a game on PS2 that is both a action bike riding game and a 3D brawler. And it looks terrible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh my God.
This looks so bad. Wow.
Yeah, he's right. Name change. Yes, the name of the show was changed to Mutant Hero Turtle because the word ninja had a violent connotation.
Yes.
Wow.
So my experience of childhood is completely different.
People call us soft.
And thankfully, because of that censorship, I haven't become a ninja. So thank you, British government. Thank you.
Yeah. You were
I'm sorry, man. We totally sidetracked you from your baby.
I think all I was saying was that there was room for another. I was getting into why I want them to do more characters. It's because there's this game, TMNT Battle Nexus. This was the second one that was under Konami on the PS2, GameCube, original Xbox era, and it was in that game that you could unlock a secondary character for everyone. So, you would scroll down, and beneath each of them, Raph would have Casey Jones, and so you could play as Casey instead of Raph. But they'd have similar movesets, and instead of Donatello, you could play as Master Splinter. And so I hope that they go in on that, because I think with the team play, they could sort of revive that one part of the game that I really liked. But I just wanted to call that out specifically.
No, salute.
I really liked Baxter Stockman. Was that his name?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
The fly dude. I really liked
him.
What
was Baxter Stockman? No, Baxter Stockman was the guy with the mousers. He was like the little robots that have the clamp mouths. He was the scientist who was, unless there was a different rendition of Baxter Stockman I'm not thinking of.
Yeah, in the cartoon, Baxter Stockman turns himself into a fly.
Okay.
See, how old are you guys? Are you guys in your 20s?
No, I'm not. I'm up there. Okay. I am old.
History lesson. So history lesson. In the 90s, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Hero Turtles, Baxter Stockman accidentally turns himself into a mutant fly creature, as inspired by the hit movie The Fly, I believe.
The Fly. Wow.
Yeah,
gotcha. So
and that whole story arc really disturbed me as a child. So luckily they took the ninja out, but human fly hybrid was completely
That was fine.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Okay,
Totally
so
fine.
that makes sense because the rendition I'm familiar with was the 2003 Hero Turtles take, which he was more of like a scientist who I don't think he ever turned himself into a fly. Yeah, later in the third season, Baxter reappears in Bye Bye Fly, eking out a miserable living in the catacombs beneath the city, feeding off of trash.
Oh my god!
Yes,
As the episode began, he stumbled across a group of archaeologists who had unearthed what appeared to be an ancient temple beneath the city. He chased the archaeologists out and investigated the temple, which in actuality turned out to be an interdimensional spaceship that had crashed on Earth centuries ago. What the fuck? I gotta watch the original Turtles. Wow,
dude, watch it. It holds up.
I've heard it's really good.
It's a really good show.
Yeah, 2003 rendition is still my favorite, but I've soaked up enough of our time on
my soul had
TNT.
already left my body by then.
Yes, certainly there's no returning now. What I mean, beyond that, what else on this list do you guys want to talk about? Because I mean, there's so many games here, but we've hit some of our major heavy hitters. Did you guys like Cult of Lamb? It was that like you had a village that you were managing, and you were literally running your own cult. Like you were playing as a sheep that like his eyes are bleeding. It was very like
vaguely remember. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, the reason you probably forgot is this came right after Midnight Sun, so you're probably like,
oh, I was If it came after Midnight Sun, or if it came after the Halo controller console announcement, I was distracted.
Yeah, understood. Fair enough.
So, like when I see the Devolver logo slapped on a game, I just think, I'll play it. Lately,
Yeah.
Devolver, they know how to pick an indie. That studio.
They got a good eye.
They really do. Devolver's like become one of my favorite publishers in recent years, and their marketing is hilarious. But yeah, Call of Lamb looks pretty cool if you like, cults and violence, which
it just looks really weird.
Tend to do.
Yes.
How else are you going to lift yourself up, right?
Yeah.
But that's really, at least if I personally wanted to talk about. Anything you guys want to throw in there, or shall we move on?
Those are good. Those are the ones major for me as well.
Okay. All right, number 4 brings us to QuakeCon, which happened last week, and it held a slew of its own announcements. For starters, Skyrim Anniversary. Arriving on November 11th, Skyrim will be releasing its 6th version. There's the base game, Legendary Edition, Special Edition, Switch version, VR version, Alexa, and now Anniversary. There will be a next-gen update hitting consoles for free, although the new visual upgrades have yet to be described. What we do know is some of the content is on the way. On top of the free update, fans will get 3 free pieces of Creation Club content bundled in. Survival mode, fishing, which Jazz, I imagine you're hyped about, and Saints and Seducers. For those wanting more, you could pay into an update for the Anniversary Edition, which provides a whopping 48 pieces of already released Creation Club content on top of 26 never before seen. In 2020, Todd Howard stated in an interview that they were still working on Creation Club content for Skyrim, and now it appears that we know what that is for. Creation Club content stopped releasing in November of 2019 for Skyrim. Curiously, Fallout 4 also did the same. Let's line things up a little bit more. We also got Quake Remastered at QuakeCon, funny enough. The dark fantasy FPS was released in 1996 at first, and now in 2021, it is back with some new bells and whistles. Developed by Night Dive Studios in tandem with Bethesda, this remaster introduces 4K resolution, 120 FPS, widescreen support, improved models, dynamic lighting, achievements, and 2 expansions, Scourge of Armageddon, Dissolution of Eternity, as well as the Machine Games developed Dimension of the Past DLC. It is available now on Xbox Game Pass, or you can play it on PlayStation as well if you want to play it on that platform. Last but not least, Fallout Worlds got some details. Heading to Fallout 76 on September 8th, this update gives players the option to create their own servers that they can tweak as extensively as they please, building literally anywhere you want, having infinite ammo, doubling your own survival mechanics, augmenting PvP rules, configuring creature spawns, higher jump heights, ragdoll physics, and the list goes on. You can customize it all. Groove Baby writes in, "Greetings, my fair duchesses. With the announcement that the Lord Todd the Greater has deigned that Skyrim will be upgraded and resold on Series X and S as well as PlayStation 5, what substantive next-gen retouches are you hoping to see? There are obviously options like 4K ray tracing, etc., although I personally hope that Bethesda increases the data cap on installed console mods from the measly 5 gigs currently allowed. It would allow for much more options to be implemented in one game without having to think about erasing mods and messing up one save file. That's all I've got. have a come see come kind of day.
Okay.
All right. We got a lot here. Let's start off with Skyrim Anniversary. Gents, it's back. Hopefully this, Jez put it really well, this indie gem can find its place in the market. What do you guys, are you guys back on board? Are you getting it again? Or are we just, we got other things to do now?
Man, go ahead, Jez.
I actually tried to play Skyrim again relatively recently, about a year ago, because I saw they added the survival mode stuff. Like you have to eat and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try that. And I just realized, like when Skyrim came out and Fallout 4 as well, I put like hundreds of hours into these games. But man, I really don't feel like Skyrim has aged that well. I really don't. So like, I'm trying to play and I'm just thinking, man, I could be playing literally anything else right now. And, I do love Elder Scrolls and I do love Lord Todd, as your Patreon put it. So eloquently and appropriately, might I add.
Yeah.
But I think my time with Skyrim is well and truly at an end. No amount of retouches, remastering, Creation Club stuff, not even fishing can bring me back to this game. I think I'm well and truly done with Skyrim. But,
we'll see about that.
We all know, all three of us know, it's going to sell.
It's gonna sell.
Oh,
it's gonna sell. Yeah,
it's gonna swell like sweet rolls.
Sweet rolls. Oh yeah. I'll make it quick, Maddie. Sadly, I have to agree with Jez.
Everyone's.
I saw your video, brother. Your video was fantastic. I was laughing so hard at everything you said. You're like, I can't believe they're doing it again, and damn it, I'm gonna buy it again. I saw you. And look, man,
are true.
I can't. Like, it's to the point now. It's like, he's morally messing with me. Like, it's to like this man is really, how someone just habitually crosses the line. He's a habitual line stepper. The man told you in the most gangster way, if you don't want me to stop making it, stop buying it. That is gangster. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this. What's crazy is he's right.
Yep.
I know he's right? But I gotta take a stand. No, Todd. I know. I gotta be strong. My little rejection ain't gonna hurt them. This thing gonna sell like gangbusters. This no doubt. Creation engine. Maddie's in. I saw Maddie is so in. I was like, you know what? I feel you. The way he has his hooks in you is the way I am with Destiny, and I know that level of addiction and that drug, and I get it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just like, I want a new engine. I want the
100%.
next iteration. That's all. But look, salute to y'all. You get your creation engine. You get everything you want. Knock yourself out, brother. I'm not going to stop your joy. Do your thing. But it is all you. Were you doing backflips? Everything is advertised?
Believe it or not, the reason I was tweeting about it so much when I got announced, I was fucking shocked because I was originally going to put out a tweet as a prediction, but I've stopped doing that because when I did with Star Wars for Game Pass, I was like, oh, maybe on Star Wars Day they'll do Game Pass edition. I woke up with like 2,000 likes, people quoting me with like the eye emoji to the side, like yo. I was like, oh dude, no, it was a prediction, guys. And I was like, all right, I am privy to information at times where I try to be a little careful when I'm making a prediction, and it's easier in a video to state like, this is a prediction and speculation only. But I was thinking for a while, like they should do a next gen update for Skyrim's anniversary. And they kind of went above that a little bit more than I thought. The tweak here that kind of worked for me is no one I know that's in the Bethesda community who's playing Bethesda games is really paying for the Creation Club content. Not because it's bad, though. It's the thing is I've messed around with it a little bit. It's never been bad. Like they've had new quests, dungeons, weapons, armor, all that stuff. It's been that it's overpriced. It's been horrendously priced. I feel bad for the modders who worked with Bethesda because they do good work. They have individually, which brought them to this point. But the price tags were disgusting, man. Like in Fallout 4, you pay like $8 for a gun. They literally mark it on your map. You'd go pick it up and that'd be it.
Yikes.
And there wasn't even a quest line.
Armor days.
Yeah, they really just like took your money, and people were getting mad. And Bethesda went into this argument with the community on, well, it's not paid mods. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, yeah, it is to some extent. Because they're like, no, we got the mod section here. They were trying to play a PR game. It was bad. Really bad. So there's been enough years for people to forget about it. They stopped making stuff for it. And I think it's because they realized no one was paying for it. Let's bundle it and resell Skyrim again. And I think they're going to do the same for Fallout 4. I feel pretty confident they're going to look at Fallout 4 and go, okay, let's add that Creation Club content in. So for me, what gets me over the hump is just knowing that there is also, on top of what we've already seen, right? 48 pieces of content there. There's 26 new ones. And obviously not all of them are going to be dungeons, quests, so on and so forth. But I'm encouraged by the idea that there is new stuff coming to Skyrim, right? It's not like Special Edition where I think a lot of people were left wanting for that when it came out in 2016. I personally fell into that camp of, it's just new visuals.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas with this one, having 70 pieces of content that I've never seen before, as someone who's played a lot of Skyrim, like knowing there's going to be a couple bumps in the road, which, now the way they progress with Creation Club is they learned and they started to make these quests where it could add up to like 20 hours to the game, which I know it's already a big enough game. But for someone like me who's looking for new shit to do, content point aside, right? Like, of course, I'm going to talk about this game a lot. It's great for the channel. But beyond that, it's like, as a fan, it's like, new stuff in Skyrim. Yeah, please. I'm for that. But I agree with Jez on one front. I think the exploration in Skyrim still has yet to be touched. Like, I think it's so well done. But the combat, man, oh my God. It is not good. It's such a shut off your brain combat system now. It was understandable in 2011, but a decade later, I think they're adding spells to the game, like necromancy spells, or it's like, all right, this could be cool, but like beyond, like, that's not gonna save it.
Yeah, Chess, you had something like you was gonna add, like you was gonna say.
Even like I tried playing Elder Scrolls Online, and I just felt the same way. It's like this combat, this whole combat format is just bad, and the next iteration really needs to look at the combat. Like games like Dark Souls and stuff have really evolved what sort of action RPG combat should look like, I think. And maybe that doesn't work so well in a first person game, but it needs to evolve in some way. Like Fallout 3 evolved Fallout 4 evolved Fallout 4 evolved Fallout 3's combat. Made it much more FPS oriented, and it felt a lot better to play. If you go back and play it now, it feels like it's behind like a modern shooter. So that's where I'm at with Skyrim personally. But like, just to touch on what you said about the modding thing, you're going to see a lot more of this in the industry moving forward, because it's actually a whole business model, which they call the creator economy.
Okay.
Now, the biggest games in the world, like your Minecraft and stuff, one really great way to make sure your game keeps evolving without you having to spend any money is let other people build the content for your game and pay them for it. So there are companies that make millions of dollars of turnover purely focused on making games for Minecraft. There are like those recent Minecraft DLCs, like the Sonic thing or whatever. Microsoft didn't make those. Some other Minecraft company made those with Sega's blessing. Microsoft maybe Microsoft brokered the license for Sonic or whatever, but another company made those. Another company will get royalties from those, and Microsoft will take a cut, whatever. Kind of like the Apple iOS store does, or Google Play, or whatever. When you download an app or you buy an in-app purchase, they get a cut. So like, all games are looking at this now. Like, since Roblox's IPO, and Roblox is this huge business that core gamers don't care about, but the whole game is a creator economy game. Roblox, they just sit back, let other companies make the games within Roblox, and they just let the money flow. The money flows. So I think what Bethesda was doing, they were like looking at this emerging business strategy. Maybe they didn't get it right. I mean, you could argue that if you're paying $8 for a gun, they very probably definitely didn't get it right. But, I guess this is a way to salvage that. But I think at the same time, they were sort of moving in that direction a little bit, because I feel like Bethesda struggled to find its place in an industry that was rapidly evolving towards being purchased by Microsoft.
I agree.
I feel like Bethesda lost its way a bit. They released that terrible Wolfenstein game that had no business being an online game whatsoever.
Preach.
They did Fallout 76, which nobody wanted. And it was terrible at launch. It's actually ended up being pretty decent, but they were trying to figure out, like, how do we become competitive in a market which is full of Blizzards and Minecrafts and World of Warcrafts and, you know, all this stuff. And they were trying different ways to achieve this without impacting their core, you know, and which is why you got Wolfenstein Youngblood as a spin-off, which is why the Creation Club can be billed as an option, you know, not a necessity. And I do hope that now that they're part of Microsoft, they can focus on just doing what they do best rather than trying to experiment with these business models, and just focus on making games that drive Game Pass engagement. But I think that's where some of that stuff comes on. It just goes off on a tangent, but I do think you're going to see a lot more of this. And I do think that one of the reasons Forge has been delayed is because they want to turn it into a creator economy engine platform where they can sell maps, where they can sell mini games that businesses have made for the game or modders have made for them. I have no information about that. I could be completely wrong. It could be like they just want it all to be free and they just want to use it to drive engagement. I mean, that's totally something they might be doing. But if I was a betting man, and I'm not, but if I was, I would say there's a good chance they're looking at what Minecraft's done with their marketplace and thinking we can potentially do this for Steam. For Halo. They even experimented with Gears 5 with that whole map editor thing, the whole tile system for the escape mode. That mode had no business existing. It was just them trying to figure out a way to monetize Gears in a way that they want their AAA franchises to be monetized, which is like ongoing content that they don't have to make. And it was half-baked. Like, it only works if it makes sense. And, you know, I'm hoping that for Forge and stuff, it makes sense. But yeah, I went off on a tangent there. But I think more games are going to try this in the future.
Yeah, I think you're correct on that. Cog, what do you feel about everything to do with the future of this modded content and pairing developers and these companies that, like, that's something that was new to me. Like, I didn't think of that there are companies within like Roblox or Minecraft. They're building modded content that it's a business model for them, essentially.
I think Jez is completely on fire with that. I mean, I'm looking at it right now while he was talking. I mean, I'm the person that monitors the Xbox most played games list a lot. And I always used to say, what the hell is Roblox? I was like, what the hell is this thing? Is always in the top 3, top 5 all the time. And I'm like, and again, you know, the explanation of the model. And to me, video games, especially, you know, big AAA, to me always comes across as a copycat league, you know, from a monetization model, what's popping. And I love the examples that Jez said in reference to Bethesda, quote unquote, losing their way prior to acquisition, because they're the whole, remember, they had the whole save player one, single player campaign. That was their mantra. But when you look at it financially in an industry with a Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, you got all these things, and their model just didn't sit well in this current age of gaming. So as a result, they were forced to jump outside their box. I completely agree with that. I think that, you know, that's where I love about the Microsoft acquisition, because I'm hoping now they can stay true to what the core essence of what they are, right? Go ahead, Maddie. I know you want to jump in.
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree, because I feel like they didn't have the IP that was flexible enough to allow them to do something like that, to make that leap. And so, just tailing off of what you said. Exactly that.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I do think that it is something that we have to monitor as companies. Look, this is a monetization business. And if you can get creators to make content and have continual revenue, that's what the boardroom wants. The boardroom loves that.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, we can maybe see that start to happen with, we'll hop around a little bit, Fallout Worlds, right? It's heading to 76, September 8th, customizable servers. I think this is where you can start to see people buying into 76 for not what Bethesda's doing. Kind of like some people would buy into New Vegas or 3 because they want to just play what modders are making. I think now having these isolated servers that you could play on your own with your own rule set, the characters are not shared. So let's say you were playing, you had your adventure mode character, they call it. That is different from the one that's in this. So I think players are not going to only tweak the settings here, but I think this is finally we're going to start to see modding get unlocked for 76, which Bethesda is super late on, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think this is where 76 will take another step forward, because between that and Into the Pit, which is a sign of what's to come, where Bethesda's finally starting to take you beyond Appalachia, which is going to be a double-edged sword for your boy, right? When they take, I already know they're going to. When they take you back to Capital Wasteland, I'm going to be like, I'm hurting. What the hell are you guys doing? Fallout 3? Why just remake it? But
I know he needs his Fallout. Jez, the minute you get a rumor that they have to get a Fallout, please let this play.
I don't know what's happened. Like this last month, I've just started to starve, and I've actually been playing 76 lately. I've played I saw you. I've been playing a lot of it too, and I'm kind of enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie.
I liked it. I played it solo, and I played it before they added NPCs, and the quests are actually really good. If you actually read the text, and they put a lot of effort into some of those quests, and there were times when I was playing it, and I just felt like I was playing, a Fallout 4 spin-off, like Fallout 4 New Vegas or something, or Appalachia Edition or whatever you want to call it. But it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the big publishers, what they do is they're stuck in this weird limbo where, and I'm seeing this more and more, when a game trailer makes me feel old, like that Saints Row thing. I'm starting to realize that video game as an industry is still immature compared to the movie industry, right? You get your movies that appeal to your old people like me, and you get your movies that are aimed at kids, blah blah blah. Back in the day, it was just the games have to appeal to kids because that's basically the entire market. But now we see more nostalgia because everyone's getting old, and they're sort of in this place where it's we've got one dev team who can make one game. Do we appeal to the new generation of Fortnite kids who've grown up with microtransactions? They expect everything to be free, and they expect ongoing service or whatever. How do we appeal to those new generation of gamers who want their Fortnite graphics and whatever, and appeal to the grumpy influencers who are pushing 40, or if you're Rand, pushing 60?
Damn!
Sorry.
Red Quarter Shot, I love it. Now we're full circle with Xbox 2 now.
It's what do you do? So I feel like what one thing they can do is they can have a cash cow, which is your FIFA Ultimate Team, your Minecraft, your Fallout Shelter, your Elder Scrolls Online maybe, and then make games. For me, the jaded, cynical, bitter, I don't want microtransactions. I don't even want mods in my games, man. Just give me a pure experience.
Okay. That's fine. I respect that. I used to be like that.
I got this thing where I just I feel like mods are cheating somehow.
It's once you get over that hump and you just get into Nexus and you start throwing shit in your game and you realize I feel reignited.
Yeah, but it's I'm just man, I downloaded a blood pack for Skyrim that made the blood bloodier. And I felt like I'm cheating. The blood shouldn't be this bloody. I feel like passed it gives the threshold of what's legal.
Ultimately, what you're doing is just giving it a new coat of paint, right? I remember when I was playing Fallout 4, I was testing console mods, and there was one that overhauled the whole wasteland to make it just full of greenery. So everything was moss covered. It was almost like Call of Duty 4 in a way. It just reminded me of Modern Warfare, where some levels were just covered in moss and grass everywhere. It was just so lively. But
it's cheating.
Hey, I felt like it came back to life a little bit. I was like, yo, this has a different feel. You get the SWAT weapon pack. Now you're carrying something with a laser scope on. I'm like, whoa, this is got a whole new look and feel to it. And I think that's what modding's always about, is once you've, squeezed the life out of the game, you rely on the community to do something.
Yeah. My brother loves mods too. It's and especially the younger generations like yourself, I guess. There seem to be into mods.
I'm getting
I'm the old man here too.
4 years away. I'm 4 years away from my life changing, so I'm embracing it while everyone calls me young.
It's all downhill from 30, mate.
Yeah,
Get ready.
that's what I.
But anyway, but my friend's son, who's 13, recently bricked his computer by his whole computer by downloading a mod from some obscure website that had like viruses in it. So like all his accounts got hacked and all this sort of stuff.
Wow, they really invaded him.
It's but that seems to it just seems to be a thing that like but that having control over your game is like a PC gaming thing too. Like
it is.
And I was always a console kid growing up, and then I went from console gaming to like MMOs on PC, which is just they're all locked down anyway. You know, you can't mod those unless you want to get your ass banned. So, but yeah, off on a tangent there.
No, you get, bro.
Well, last but not least in our news roundup, and then we'll get to Game Pass pick of the week. This one will be a little bit quicker, I imagine. Developer Neon Giant has released a much-needed large-scale patch for the Ascent. This update was to bring the Xbox and Windows 10 version more in line with what the Steam version of the game was doing. It included DLSS support, co-op fixes, stability improvements, and mission patches. Unfortunately, and I found this out when I was researching what the patch actually did, it has negatively impacted the game despite it being exactly what the doctor ordered. Widespread among the community, players are reporting horrendous frame rate and stuttering drops, along with the lost cyberdeck function. So things actually went from bad to worse, Cog, believe it or not. Like, we just did a spoiler cast review discussion, and we were saying, like, yeah, there's a patch. It looks to adjust things that we're looking for, and it got worse. Jez, you were shaking your head a little bit, man. Like, have you experienced this? I haven't tested the game.
I reviewed the game.
Get him, Jez. Get him, Jez.
I really wanted to love this game. Like, I'm an action RPG guy. I'm a cyberpunk guy. I'm a sci-fi guy, and all this stuff. Like, I love dystopia. This is my perfect depressed setting.
And I think you were encouraged by the preview, right? Didn't you preview it and you were pretty impressed by it? Yeah.
A preview build was great. Like, I played the preview build on PC, and it was solid. The first hour of the game or so. And like I could see like there's going to be a lot more here. There's going to be a lot more to this, but I was just so disappointed with the gameplay loop. And at the end, like so much of the stuff you unlock towards the end ends up being useless. Like it almost feels like, you know, you unlock for example, you unlock the ability to hack ATMs like right at the end of the game when you don't need any money anymore. Yeah. It's like the whole RPG layer is like half baked, and considering the RPG layer is half the game, it's a bit of a problem. But I didn't have a huge amount of performance issues on the Xbox Series S, which is how I reviewed it. I got a Series X now, thank God. Yeah, but no, the Series S is like really capable if the games are made for it, but just not enough games are made for it yet. But it ran great on the Series S, like, you know, because it was made for it. But it was all those other things like the co-op issues. I tried playing it with Rand and Colt Eastwood one night, and it was just a mess. Okay. You know, we were appearing in his cutscenes, running around, jumping around, ruining the atmosphere, and it just felt like, it just like only the host can experience the cutscene, which is weird.
Do you have that, Cog?
You know what's funny? I asked Kai and Valakon when I played. Yeah, he may be right, because there were times where they did. I guess it's according to the progression of where the others are, maybe. Because I don't think they experienced all the cutscenes either. With what I was playing, but
it's just weird. It is such a story-heavy game, and they put a lot of thought into the story and the lore and the monsters. Like, there's a lot of love gone into that aspect of the game. But then you're playing co-op, and it just falls apart. It honestly feels like they tried to do too much for the first game. Like, they probably should have focused on making it like a single-player experience. They probably should have maybe even focused on it being a twin-stick shooter rather than a full-blown RPG. Like Helldivers, if you remember that game. I don't think that game was like a full-blown RPG sort of thing. And there'll be people who disagree with me. A lot of people were mad that my review wasn't more positive. You know?
Oh, dude, you are preaching to the choir right now. I felt the wrath of Xbox fans.
They came for you, boy. Well, how dare you come for that exclusive?
What I have learned since I've been submitted into the ecosystem has been, if I am not positive on any of the exclusives, I am attacking it. So my opinion on Halo, I was dramatic, right? With Forge and co-op. When I did not like the Ascent, I was too hard on it. I'm just like, but when I reviewed Psychonauts, and I fucking love that game, I like the dislike ratio. Dude, there wasn't even a dislike bar. I'm taking notes. I'm learning, but
taking notes. You taking notes. You learning. Don't come for the Xbox exclusive.
What happens is preparation, right? I don't care if anyone blasts me, but now knowing when I'm stepping on a landmine, that helps a lot.
You know what you're about to do.
Yeah, right. Like knowing, all right, here we go. Like Halo sucks, right? Like I come out and say that, knowing that, I'm gonna get blowback, and there's gonna be people who just run at me from all angles.
I tweeted recently that if Halo's campaign isn't up to snuff, they should delay the whole thing. People were psycho at me, and I was just like, I'm saying if it is bad, if and I even tweeted underneath for people who can't read. I said if it's bad.
Yeah, you gave a disclaimer. I love it.
It's because, and you were saying earlier, like some people were just like really incensed about the idea of delaying Halo until it's actually ready. Like what do they want people to do otherwise? Build a time machine and hire more devs or something? Like it's I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, no,
it's the line you walk when you criticize.
It's the line. Yeah, it's the line. I'll jump in real quick. I actually did have the same experience you had with co-op. I did have a lot of fun with it, though. It was a romp. I agree with you. The like we talked on Defining the Ultimate, the RPG layer is definitely half baked. I just took it as a romp with friends. When you get the beats start coming, the hard music starts hitting, you're having fun. But from a story and narrative perspective, as we discussed, nothing really captured me, and I just felt it was a missed opportunity. But to this point, which is the question, I do want to say, you had made a great article, Jez, in reference to PC Game Pass, and you came for Xbox pretty hard, and I commend you for that in the sense that that level with UWP and not seeing the quality there, and we're hearing the features with DLSS and ray tracing supposed to be there initially and not there. Now we having this issue where they come in and then now it's affecting other parts of the game with crashes and stuff like that. And I really hope that on the PC side, if Xbox is to be taken seriously with Game Pass, because they clearly want it on mobile, they cloud and PC is a major core pillar. But if these ports are not up to snuff, that's a major problem. So I wanted to shout you out for that because I saw that article as a tremendous article. And I know you couldn't have gotten the nicest feedback from Microsoft when you did what you did, but it was courageous. And I like that. And same with you, man. When you guys call it out, we love certain things and we want them to be better. It's okay to be critical. And
it's hard to be critical.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. Yeah, because people take it as such this emotional, personal attack. And, Jez is using the word if, and they're still coming for him, like, God forbid Maddie doesn't like, some aspect of a broken game. Yeah. It's just, we got to be, community has to do better in that regard. But Salute, I wanted to comment on that.
I mean, like Microsoft, like I got DMs about the article from Microsoft, and some of the people on the Microsoft, all the DMs I got from Microsoft staff about that were positive, and they're like, yeah, we know some aspects are bad. There's a big update coming soon, which will fix some of this stuff. Some of it hinges on Windows 11, like they've had to revamp a lot of the back end because they're still working off a Windows 8 back end. The last time they revamped everything. So even Windows 10 is just layered on top of Windows 8, Windows 11 really does, push it further along the line. So, it's Microsoft at least take it like in a positive way. But you'll notice something. Apple YouTubers never criticize Apple. What is that?
I didn't even know Apple YouTubers were a thing.
Oh, damn.
I didn't even know, I'll be honest, but
it's because it's hard to distinguish them from an ad for Apple.
Jez got the smoke. Jez got the smoke for Apple. I love it.
Apple does not like criticism. They will cut you off if you criticize them. And I know that because we have Apple websites in our network. So, But luckily, Microsoft does take feedback in a positive way a lot of the time.
Good.
Well, that's it for our long news roundup. Now we move in, as always, to our Game Pass pick of the week. Jez, as our guest, you were the one who made the selection. What have you picked for us?
Well, I was on vacation the last 5 days. And when I'm on vacation, I make a point of not playing games that are vaguely related to work. Like, I don't have to write content about them. Because sometimes it does feel a bit like work if you're playing a game that is sort of like, you've got to write about.
Right.
So I didn't play any recent game. I've gone back and started another save on Pillars of Eternity.
Which one? Is this the first one or the sequel?
The first one, yeah.
Okay, cool.
The first one, Pillars of Eternity Complete Edition, I think it's called. And it's funny because this ties into our discussion about PC Game Pass. Because I was playing Pillars of Eternity on PC Game Pass because it just plays so much better with the mouse and keyboard. However, it is broken on PC Game Pass. The UWP version of Pillars of Eternity is broken, and like when you move, because like the way the game is, it's like for those who don't know, Pillars of Eternity is like a sort of tactical CRPG classic, static background, and then 3D objects layered on top, and you dungeon crawl like Baldur's Gate, stuff like that. The classic Fallout, although it's not really turn based; it's all real time. But the UWP Game Pass version of Pillars of Eternity, when you move from one map to the next, the 3D objects like doors, monsters, and objects on the floor, crates and chests, they also come to the next map. And then you move to another map, and then they also come to the next map. What? So you end up in this situation where there's just floating doors and floating chests everywhere. And if you click on the object that isn't supposed to be there, you can completely break the game. And I got to a point where there was like a door on top of an object I needed to click on to progress the story, and I couldn't. I put up with this bug for ages, and I was like,
"Wow,
this is dedication."
For 55 hours, I put up with this bug.
What?
Reloading the game was the only way to fix it. Yeah, I put up with this bug for 55 hours, but I got to a point where there was a door overlaid on an object I needed to click on to progress the story, and I just thought, "Fuck this! I'm going to start again on Xbox, which doesn't have the bug." So I've started the game from scratch on Xbox because I'm determined to finish Pillars of Eternity because it's an amazing game. It has absolutely amazing writing. The combat system is just so satisfying. It's complex, and I think the combat system puts a lot of people off initially because it's not really like anything you will have experienced unless you've played a game similar to Pillars of Eternity. But I just absolutely adore the world they built. And I'm really determined to go through Pillars 1 and 2 before Avowed comes out.
Yep, you and me both.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But I've heard that Pillars 2 on Xbox is broken.
Oh, no.
And apparently the Switch version had a big patch, like a game-breaking one of some kind, that they were like, we're not fixing that. It's not, it's there. So I think the best way to play that is PC. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Steam, and this is the benefit of mods too. If a Win32 game is broken, modders often will fix it for the devs who abandon their games. And I actually worked with Obsidian to try and get this bug fixed in the UWP version, but it never got fixed. I don't know, like, if they couldn't repro the exact thing or they're just stretched with doing like other games and stuff like that. But it is super annoying when there are games on Game Pass which are fucking broken. Pillars of Eternity 2 on Game Pass for Xbox is broken. Apparently it just crashes all the time. And Pillars of Eternity Complete Edition on PC Game Pass is broken. And it has the weirdest bug I've ever seen in the game. But, again, another tangent. Pillars of Eternity is an amazing game. Super underrated.
Perfect.
I don't care that it's bugged. Like, at least
I think it's an endorsement.
If you're going to play it, that's the thing. I love the game enough to put up with that bug for 55 hours and to start it over on Xbox. I swear, if I come across a game breaking bug on Xbox, I'm just going to smash things and just be like, you know what? That's it. I'm now a Steam gamer, and I quit every other platform because at least modders can fix the bugs there. I remember when I was a kid, man, and this is probably before you were born, May. When I was a kid playing Stalker, when Stalker first came out,
What's that?
you could not play Stalker without downloading a massive community patch, which like fixed millions
That's like
of
KOTOR 2.
game-breaking bugs.
I can understand a little bit.
Yeah.
KOTOR 2 without the there's a term for it. It's like a long acronym, but it's a patch that Obsidian never released and that modders took, and it fixes all the bugs, all the glitches, all the jank. It adds missing content that was cut, like everything. You cannot. That's why I'm like curious how they're going to handle these ports, kind of like remasters in a sense, because when Aspyr handled those and they brought them to PC, they opened up the Steam Workshop so that you could easily access this patch that made the game way better. I'm wondering if they're going to make that patch official content when it comes to consoles eventually. But
that is something the PC Game Pass desperately needs, because
Yes.
the way the UWP layer works is it constantly verifies the network integrity or the file integrity. Sorry, and it's like it sees foreign code in there, like injectors and mods, and it's just like, oh, that shouldn't be there. That file is broken. I'll delete that file, and they just rip the mod out, which can break your game. And even though they have this whole like, you can click a button to decrypt the UWP files to open it up to modding, it just doesn't work properly, and a lot of games don't support it properly. And man, it's just if they want to be taken seriously on PC, they really need to look at all this stuff. Look at the culture of PC gaming. Add a mod store to PC Game Pass. Get rid of UWP containers. Go all in on Win32, because UWP is just dead. It's dead, man.
Yeah,
it's dead. It's dead.
Ain't it?
Yeah.
Put
But Pillars of Eternity, lovely game.
great. Go down. I'll be following you up shortly with that one. All right, to conclude our show, as always, even in the longest of them, we have a 5-question roundup, starting off with AJ Murray, who writes in, "Hey Dukesters, by the time this episode airs, I will have had a job interview for a place that sells secondhand video games and other media. Where I live, this is still a pretty big money bringer, despite the all-digital future of PlayStation and Xbox consistently putting forward, which is what prompted me to write in this week. I guess what I want to ask is not exactly a question, but more so a gut check on how you feel the physical game space might be doing with the new gen slowly ramping up and the prospect of digital-only consoles becoming a reality. Hope you two have a solid 5 out of 10 week." It's talking to you, Jez. AJ Murray is asking us about the future of physical media in gaming.
It's dead.
I feel
Next question. Nah, I'm joking. Go on.
I don't want it to die.
Yeah, I know that's big for you.
Yeah, I love, honestly, as someone who's pro environment, right? Like, you'd think I wouldn't be like all about it, but it's like my Achilles heel in the scheme of things. Like, I need to buy the game physically because there's a connection there that I'll always argue, right? There's an emotional moment when you buy that game and you've got it and it's there, man. Like, there's something about that. I find it interesting that there's places that are producing secondhand stuff. I'm guessing this is like, I mentioned Mad Cats at one point and how that could be a potential secondhand producer of video game content. And I feel like they've fallen out more over time. The only relevant one I've experienced is PowerA. They've seemed to have done good third-party work across multiple consoles, specifically their Xbox controllers. If anyone's looking for a cheap one, $30, PowerA does really good work. I've used one for a couple of years and it still works. It's a rose pink, but we work with what we got. Once again, eyes on the screen. We're not looking down.
Judgment free zone, baby. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good, man.
What do you guys think, though, about the future of physical games? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I have the PowerA Spectra with the little RGBs in them. And it's like, why have I got RGBs in my controller when I'm actually looking at the screen? But it looks great in photographs. Yeah,
looks cool.
But I have currently 0 physical Xbox games. I have been 100% digital since Xbox One launch.
That is so dropped.
Yeah. But I flipped because I did previously have like about 300 Xbox 360 games. I still have all my PS1 games and PS2 games, although my brother has them. They're in his room back at home. So I did have a thing about collecting games because I, like you, there is like this sort of emotional. It's just nice to have, and it's a celebration of your hobby. I collect the vinyls because I like music.
Nice.
And
nice.
I still got a load of CDs, but then I don't know why, but when it came to Xbox, I just
look at Maddie with the
that is a flex.
I got
that's a flex right there.
Near back there.
How much was that?
Tsushima. This was $70.
That looks way more expensive than 70.
Yeah, no, they video game vinyls are surprisingly cheap. Like this is like 4 discs.
Wow, that's nice.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's just I don't want to get all deep and philosophical about it, but it's just nice to have things that sort of represent your personality in your life and stuff like that. Because I have no life, I no longer need these things.
God.
So
Jez!
I'm just all digital now. But like I don't want them to die because because why shouldn't they exist? But it's just kind of lame how publishers want them to die because they hate the used games market. So, and they've stopped printing. They've stopped putting any effort into their discs. There's no booklets that come with them anymore. I remember
when booklets. Yeah.
I used to love it, man. When you open like a box and it had like, oh, there's a map in here. It's nice.
Yeah.
And there's like a little book with notes at the back. Put all my GTA cheats in there. Stuff like that. Spawn a tank. This is a combination. Stuff like that. It's. That whole experience is like gone away.
Oh, completely. Yeah,
it's lamentable.
Yeah. It's done. I'm sorry, Jez. I didn't know if you were finished. I was just gonna jump in.
I'm just saying, like it just feels like it's just that's the way it's going, But I do hope that through companies like Limited Run Games, who Xbox doesn't seem to work with for some reason. And
what the fuck? I don't get that at all.
Yeah, I don't get that either. I need to dig into that and find out what's going on there.
Yeah, please do, because like something like Psychonauts 2, which isn't getting a physical release, is perfect for that, right? And
yeah, exactly.
Like
I think that is the future of physical. Is like your collector's edition, your limited editions. Like a lot of vinyls I buy them because they're limited edition. I just bought that like Evangelion limited edition 4K Blu-ray box set that was like $200 because it's limited edition and it's shiny. It's like. I might not buy like a $30 game or whatever, but I might buy a cool collector's edition version of the game or something that can look nice in my cabinet, even though if I never use the disc, because I noticed that's what I was doing, and this is why I stopped buying the discs, is because I started buying the discs. I had I think I had Battlefield 4 on disc when Xbox, was it Battlefield 3 back then? Was it Battlefield 3, the Xbox One launch, or 4? I can't remember.
4 is the Xbox One launch.
Yeah, I had Black Flag, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Battlefield 4 on disc. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to buy these on digital as well, so I don't have to get out of bed to change.
Get out of bed and switch to joint. That's literally me.
And then I just
Lord
thought,
have mercy.
Why am I buying it twice?
No. I can get up out of my seat, man. I'm in great shape. I can walk across that room. Brother. I got the agility. I'm going to do that.
Get your cardio in. I respect it.
Well, you're pushing 30, mate. So there'll be less of that, agility. I
can't even fathom that. I can't fathom the idea. Like, does your back tweak a little bit? You're like, I don't want to go through that. Is that what happens? Because I'm starting to go to the gym again, right? I've been going for about 3 weeks. It's like, am I going to be all right? Am I preventing that pain?
I respect that. I respect that youthful energy, sir.
It probably doesn't help that I've never worked out in my life. So maybe you'll be okay.
Yeah. Maybe you'll be all right. Well, I was going to say real quick is, for me, I've been same thing as Jez. I went pretty much all digital, but for Maddie, so make him smile a little bit. When it's something I care about, I have to get the collector's edition. I have to celebrate it because it's so important to me. So any game, big game, I've done it where I've kind of sometimes purchased them twice,
Oh.
just because I'm literally, and now that I analyze myself, I'm literally between both of you. I'm like Jez, where I'm not getting up to be swapping discs. That's over. All that swapping discs, click of a button. All right, there you go. Lazy cog. I'm good.
Swapping discs is a young man's game.
Right. But I'm like Maddie when it's what I care about. Like Ghost of Tsushima came out. I got the collectors. I got the map. Halo. I'm literally in a museum of things right now.
Right, look at that room around you.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I got all these things. And for me, it's a reminder, it's a celebration as to why I love it. And those I feel deserved. I felt like it's like this moral thing. I need to reward the publisher, the dev, you know what I'm saying? That I love it so much and showcase it. So I'm literally right between both.
Nah, I'm like you. I bought the Cyberpunk Collector's Edition. Like this, it came in this massive box with the amazing statue of V. Like I have to buy that stuff too, man. But like, I'm not. I'm not a millionaire YouTuber like Matty, so I have to
Not all of us
be
can be
careful.
Yeah, we ain't millionaires like Matty.
I do this for fun.
I have space constraints. I mean, look at all these headsets. Like all these headsets I got to review.
There's a reason
That's
I
like-
record here, not my
I got
bedroom.
no space.
What else we got?
All right, we got Kevin Whiter writing in, "Hey Dukes, I've been working my way through Greedfall on Game Pass. It's a great example of a game that's 80% there, but really could have used a bit more budget to realize the vision. What are some games that you guys have experienced with this same shortcoming? P.S. Cog, you're a straight effing badass. I've never been so immediately drawn to a new co-host on a podcast."
Thank you. Much appreciated. I'll answer mine. Ascent.
Yeah.
Ascent needed a budget. Ascent needed all of that.
Yeah.
We watch the Final Duke Ultimate. You will learn why. And listen to Jez's amazing review. Read his amazing review on Windows Central.
I'm going to piggyback that. No answer from me other than the Ascent. I've never played a more 80% game there. I would say halfway there, really. But like, it was edging on that. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yep.
Man, the two games that came to mind when that question came up, for some reason, like one thing I like to do is I really like to listen to my brain and acknowledge the first thought that comes into my head, because that's like the truthful thought, right?
Yeah.
The absolutely first thought that came to my head, which probably may not even make sense because it's a bit less than 80% there, maybe more like 60% there. But the first game I thought about was Alpha Protocol. Do you remember that?
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, man, I love that concept. Obsidian, like spy RPG, needed a little bit of love to get over the, to actually be a solid game. But I also thought about Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh,
because, man, I played the death out of Mass Effect Andromeda because I was reviewing it, and I really wanted to do a good job and make sure, because we didn't have that much time to review it, but I was really determined. So like, I didn't sleep and played Mass Effect Andromeda to completion for this review.
Oh no!
And like by the end, I was just kind of like, yeah, man, it's sort of like, I hate that the decisions are stripped out and the open world sections are really empty and boring and stuff like that. And I just feel like if they can get it there, because they did it with Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 was a rough game when I first played it. But if you go back and play it with all the DLC, it's actually a really great game. Like the extra characters they added really rounded out the pies. Yeah. The DLC was great and really added a lot of context to the story.
Yeah.
That's what Mass Effect Andromeda needed. It needed a bit more love like Dragon Age 2, but they EA'd it. They cancelled it. The DLC that could have saved Andromeda never came out.
Yeah, exactly. And Dragon Age 2 specifically, I think if they just chose a different name, people would not have hammered it as hard. But looking at it as a follow-up to Origins, which was just phenomenal, some of BioWare's best work, versus like, oh, this is a spin-off, because they were originally going to call it Dragon Age Exodus, but then they called it 2. I think just set them up for failure, because then they were looking at it as a direct follow-up, not this experimental game, where I think it would have been better or more well-received. It's funny because it plays such an impactful... I know. It's weird because going back now as like a pretty big Dragon Age fan, and I played Inquisition. I went all over the place. I played Origins, Inquisition, and then 2, and which is just totally out of order. But yet I found out just how much 2 plays a major factor with like the Red Lyrium in its main storyline,
Yes.
and especially the future of Dragon Age. Like, it's really important that if people are interested in DA4 when they start to see it, you're probably going to want to look into 2 because picking most from there. All right, let's keep moving along here.
I'm excited to hear that you're a Dragon Age fan because
of course,
I think I've completed Dragon Age Origins more than any other game. I think
that's me with
I've
Code.
been through that game repeatedly,
Yeah.
played it in every configuration possible.
Yeah,
I
it's
absolutely
so
love
good.
that game.
Absolutely, I agree. I'm hoping that what we're hearing about Dragon Age 4 being a little bit more just condensed, right? Like Inquisition was way too open and big. This seems to trim the fat from what we're hearing reports about, and that it is that type of BioWare replayability that we, seemingly you like with Origins. I love that. Like, that's
just
what
make Origins 2.
Yeah, I know, right?
Origins is a perfect game. It's a symphony of excellence. It's I don't think
vocab on display.
games get bad.
There you go.
Like, if I could give one
in.
game 11 out of 10, it's probably Dragon Age Origin. I absolutely love that game.
No, it's excellent, man. Top to bottom. There's not a bad character in that game either, which is really hard to do. That was just BioWare on a other planet, because when you look at it, it's hard enough to make, like, not even a new IP, but like a new game within an IP as well. And like in a 5-year span or 6-year span, they did KOTOR, Jade Empire, which was a whole new thing on their own, which they made a language for. Then they did Mass Effect, a whole new thing, and then they did Dragon Age. I'm like, dude.
Oh, they were fire.
Dude, like it's so hard to make up your own universe, let alone 4 and 6 years.
4, yeah.
I know it's a lot of more teams and it's their job, but shit, it's so impressive to me.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Faisal Hassan.
Dragon Age Origins. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say.
I'm just all hyped about Dragon Age now, and I just remembering like Dragon Age Origins let you be such an asshole.
Yes,
it let you be such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever do like the quest to unlock the Reaver class? Where like
yes, but I don't remember the context of it because that was
so like
a while ago.
You corrupt the blood or something, and if you take Leliana with you, she turns on you, and you have to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, man, that is such a like it's a completely dick move you do. Like it's
it
like
never ends
it's
up
like
mattering,
an
which is
ultimate
what sucks,
blasphemy,
right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's see here. Faisal Hassan writes in, "Hey Duke Lords, long-time listener, first-time poster. Do you guys think Double Fine could become a conduit for Xbox to gain indie cred? I'm a fan of Amnesia Fortnite documentaries and think it would be really cool to see those smaller titles as Game Pass exclusives. It could be a way for them to continue Double Fine Presents in a new form, showcasing indies only playable through Game Pass, and would build up a stable of experiences not available outside of the subscription service. Would love to hear your thoughts, and please keep the great content coming. Our pleasure." So just a quick note, for those who don't know what Amnesia Fortnite is, in 2017, they did a bundle of prototypes made during a 2-week public prototyping session where Double Fines was held this in conjunction with Humble Bundle, and everyone was paid a minimum of $1 to have the opportunity to vote on 25 concepts from employees. So it was a very different approach, and Faisal's asking if we could see something like that in Game Pass.
Jazz question. I'm not sure about this.
I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this either. Actually, that's an interesting. I think I wrote an article years ago saying that it'd be cool if Microsoft had sort of like an Xbox Arcade revival that curated indies that was sort of like a cut above maybe. Because like I have fond memories of the Xbox Live Arcade, and your Castle Crashers and Limbo, not Limbo. Was it Limbo? No, not Limbo. I'm getting it mixed up with Braid and stuff like that. There was a lot of great games under that IP, but I'm not super familiar with that Double Fine thing. But I do think like there is something to be said about id Xbox not being a great curator of. I don't want to. It's hard because you don't want to say a game's bad, but there is a lot of stuff that comes through the Xbox that isn't great, and it kind of reminds me of the way Steam has gone in recent years, where they're just like the flood of indie games, and it's sometimes it can be hard to like. You almost rely on the zeitgeist and the trending topics and the trending games to figure out which games are good, and there'll be games that just get lost in the ether until like someone makes them blow up. Like I think Among Us came out like 3 years ago or something, and nobody noticed it.
Nobody noticed
until one day it went viral. And it's like, how many games are there out there that are like that? That just aren't being noticed or aren't being marketed properly. Again, this is somewhat of a tangent because I'm not really familiar with that Double Fine thing, but I do think there's more that Microsoft can do for indies potentially in that space.
Yeah,
it's interesting to think about.
Absolutely, and I think on the premise of like baked in Game Pass only games, I don't think the service is there yet where they need everything they can to get people to buy in, and the service hasn't, proven. I don't want to say proven itself because it has, but I think it needs to grow to justify people saying like, I'll make this only for Game Pass, right? Like I think if that's ever an idea on the table, I believe it's a long ways away, and it's a little too heavy handed. Where if you're already in there and you're a paying customer and they're at like that 60 to 80 million mark, maybe then it's a little easier to digest because like now you understand, well, it's big, so they're trying to reward that consumer who's in the system with something pretty exclusive.
And that's another thing about Game Pass. It's like if you put too much stuff into Game Pass, it's sort of like it lessens the benefits for the developers because one of the reasons why Nintendo Switch got really popular with indies is because there's no competition from AAAs whatsoever. Like there's there is a little bit of competition, but like some of those big AAA games, they either release on the Switch in a very sort of crushed format with they don't play very well, or they're running from the cloud. Like some games run from the cloud, and the cloud streaming services aren't that great and stuff like that. So like indies really had a platform, a place to really, really shine on the Switch. And I think that's where like a lot of developers who are making these sort of like 2D kind of games, Switch has become their sort of their beacon,
Yeah.
But for like Game Pass, where Game Pass is flooded with these AAA experiences, there is an argument to be made that like putting too much into Game Pass at once could harm some kind of games.
Yeah.
I think like some games that would go into Game Pass and be completely overlooked, like an indie game that hits Game Pass the same week that Halo Infinite hits Game Pass is probably going to be overlooked. So yeah, so there is
the Gunk. I don't know.
Yeah, there is a curation argument to be made there.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
All right, let's keep moving along here. The late Nate writes in, "Hey, the duo that defines. It's been a bit since Mass Effect Legendary Edition released, so I wanted to ask if any of your opinions on the games have changed after playing them again recently. Second, has your favorite Mass Effect changed after playing through Legendary Edition? For me, Mass Effect 2 was and still is my favorite. You can't beat just having that many interesting squad mates to choose from. Cheers."
I'll take this one. Yeah, this is a controversy. Me and Solve go at this all the time. I know, Jez. I think I know what side of the argument you're on, but look, man, I love Mass Effect 2, and I still stand on it. And after playing both again, Mass Effect 1 is amazing. World building, the space opera. I love that aspect of it.
Right.
But I cannot stand the Mako. And I just feel that, it was just horrible. I like the idea of the exploration and going to different planets, and that was great. But being a Spectre was, to me, the joy, and then learning about this over threat with Sovereign and blah, blah, blah. Mass Effect 2, the reason why it's so important to me is because I truly connected with my squad. I felt all of them were interesting. I felt Thane as a character was extremely deep character. I really connected with him. The Liara reunion, when you do the DLC, Lair of the Shadow Broker, and why she's changed since you technically have been dead. And I was like, why is she so cold to me? We was romancing in the first one, but at the end of the day, I did like the loyalty missions. I did feel that added a lot to it. And I'm going to stand on the suicide mission, man. I think that's one of the greatest things in gaming. I just love the way they pieced it together, and you truly had consequence. You truly, felt that if you lost, to the point where I was like, damn, I got to replay this. like you got to hold that old save, man. If you didn't do things right, or, obviously some of it. Basically, what I like about 2 is it was so ambitious that no game at that time was carrying your decisions over into the next game, right? Like, that to me was like, young Cognito was like, yo, what I did carries over.
Mhm.
So it's always going to hold a special heart. Now, this generation that's playing it now, a lot of them are saying 3, and I get it, the graphics and stuff like that. But I know.
Sorry.
But for us that played it when it existed, and when we had the gaps and we had to wait, we know how we felt when they gave us the original 3 ending. We did not feel valued. We felt disrespected. We felt our choices that led there didn't mean anything. And then they had to add that additional content. So to this generation, they may still say 3 is better, but for me, I'm always going to stand on 2. I love them all, but 2 is my baby. 2 is my baby. But that's where I'm at with the Mass Effect debate.
I admittedly, because reviews swooped me up after I finished the first Mass Effect, I didn't get to move on to 2 because I believe Biomutant had come through at that time.
Yeah, so many games.
And then it was Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance caught me off guard. I was like, I gotta play that.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to 2 yet. I plan to still, but
Mhm.
as someone who's played them a lot, what I will say is my appreciation for 1 is infinitely higher. And I feel like they did a really good job trying to repair parts of 1 that did not age well. It's not going to blow you away. It's still not a great gameplay experience, but it's way better than what it once was. And I think they deserve a tip of the cap for that. Not that you weren't given that comic, but I was just saying in general, like, I think that deserves to be applauded a little bit more. Like the Mako's not ideal. The gameplay encounters, the combat layout has been improved because they've fixed the shooting, but it's still not the best. But what I really appreciated with it is while 3 left you hanging at the end where you're like, oh, these choices really didn't matter as much as I wanted them to. Mass Effect 1 shows that, if anything, the whole series was well thought out.
Yes.
Everything that they built in 1 matters in 3. And to me, that's infinitely impressive. It changed a lot of ways. Not changed, but it adjusted how I look at certain series, which you can feel when, and by the way, this is fine, where some conveniences are there that allow them to stitch plot threads together. Whereas like Mass Effect was like, this is our beginning, 2 is our middle, 3 is our end. And it's the importance of how trilogies are thought out. So while I don't have any new favorites because I got to replay them all, I can at least say that after playing them, I like 1 a lot more than I once did. 1 was the game I bought with my 360, played it for a little bit, dropped it, played it again, beat it. I came back to it in 2012, I want to say, on PS3 to get the trophies. And then I was going to come back to it when the rumors started coming from Jeff Grubb that they were remastering it. So I waited, and it was well worth the wait, I thought. Visually, gameplay wise, the only thing I think it's weak on is characters. I don't really connect deeply with many characters in the game. I thought, just given the drastic shift with Liara, they felt like what they did with her wasn't interesting in the first game. But of course, there's Ashley and Caden, which just they exist.
Ashley, the space racist.
They exist. So it's and Tali doesn't get much expansion until you can visit her flotilla. So a lot of them are kind of these faceless characters that they didn't know if they were going to build on them, but they were ready when they got the opportunity. Like, you're going to build on this. You're going to make a sequel. They had the keys to the castle, and they made well on that. Jez, what about you? Where do you lie on the Mass Effect debate?
I think Mass Effect 2 is probably one of the best games ever made. Pound for pound. But I kind of
back now. No longer blacklisted. Yes.
Yes. I'm kind of like you. Like, I thought, I mean, this is before I was a blogger or whatever, or an analyst or whatever my job is. But I thought the criticism of Mass Effect 3's ending was well overblown, because like, I took the whole game as the ending. Like, every quest you do resolves a plot point.
It's a good point.
I get to shoot Mordin in the back, insubordination. I get to shoot Ashley in the face, insubordination. I get to shoot Legion, insubordination. And I was just like, I was going through like, yes, I like all these decisions it's letting me do. And then sort of like my ending felt appropriate to the evil renegade asshole lifestyle that I'd led. So maybe because I played the game in a certain way, my ending felt justified to me, that it should end this way, because I played it with the mindset of no one's coming out of this war with a happy ending. How do you have a galactic scale war with a happy ending? You just can't. So for me, I was pretty satisfied with the ending. I know it's sacrilegious to go against the meme that these got a bad ending, and I haven't even done the DLC ending yet. I haven't actually done it. So I need.
It's gonna be new to you.
Yeah, it's gonna be new to me. So I'm still going through it. I was about halfway through Mass Effect 2. I played Mass Effect 1 and completed it on Insanity, which is my only achievement that I didn't have from playing it before. Because
the best way to play it, I think, at least the first one.
I feel like they made it a lot easier, Mass Effect 1 on Insanity, because like when I played it originally, Mass Effect 1 on Insanity, I went to Benezia way too early with only one save file, and she just kept phasing me through the floor, and I was just like, you know what, screw this. Yeah, but they fixed all that, and it almost felt like overpowered playing through Mass Effect 1 on Insanity this time. But then I go into Mass Effect 2 on Insanity, and it's just like, I can't even play this. That's right. I'm physically, my brain is cognitively too aged to play it this way. And I don't know if like biotics are just super squishy at the start, and it's not the best way to do it.
A little bit, but
I always play as a biotic, so they're squishy as hell. So like I just kept getting killed by everything. But man, what a game with DLC too, like Lair of the Shadow Broker. What an amazing DLC. Overlord as well, like underrated.
Overlord's
DLC.
Great.
The revelation at the end of that is like
at the end of that is amazing,
harrowing, like horrible,
horror. Yes,
yeah, really bad. And games often just don't really take those kind of risks now. I feel like everything has to be soft and like, you know, happy endings so people don't get sad. You know,
I agree.
All that kind of thing.
I agree with that entirely. On a side note, that a lot of games are demanded to end happily.
Yes,
and I feel like it's something that creators are feeling, because like I remember Kojima saying during, I think, the E3 stream for Geoff Keighley, he was just like, yeah, you know, I don't want to tell a depressing story. And I get that to an extent, right? Like something like Psychonauts was really refreshing because it handled heavier themes with a lighter touch to them. But I don't understand this idea that like the main character must win. The main characters must succeed. I'm like,
good point.
Why? Is there? I think it's something to do with writings class, right? Like you have the idea of the hero's journey and the steps they got to follow and the way that their build is complete. And I'm like, what if they didn't? What if they fucked up and that was it, right? Like is that such a bad idea? I don't know.
You're right.
I like that though. I feel like it's, if you've got a galactic war against giant robot squids who can eat planets, basically, people gonna die. Maybe the main character dies. You know, it's. I feel like games should have that sense of vulnerability.
That's why
I really hate, while we're on this soapbox, I hate the trend that games insist the player has to be some kind of superhuman god. Why does every game make me into super badass? Like, fine, some games, fine. They want to be a power fantasy, fine. I like games where, like, you feel like you're on a growth path. Like World of Warcraft, for example, is so ridiculous now that, like, like in vanilla World of Warcraft, you're like a foot soldier in the Horde, you're nobody. And that felt good. I felt like a unit in the RTS, Warcraft 3, whatever. But nowadays, it's like you are the chosen one of the Horde, liaising with the biggest heroes and stuff. And it almost feels patronizing, like that more and more games think the player has to be
that way,
immune to any sort of hardship, you know. And
I get it.
I like games that make you feel a bit vulnerable, make you feel like you have to earn your victories. And I think that's why, in some ways, it's probably why games like Dark Souls have become so popular recently. It's Dark Souls and stuff like that is the antithesis of the you are an immune superhero, superhuman badass who can't be killed by a barrel rolling down a flight of stairs or something. Yeah. I don't know. I went off on a tangent there. It's because it's 2 a.m. here, and I'm starting to get tired.
Yeah, we got to get him out of here.
We're gonna move you along here.
Just get crazy. I love it.
You stuck with us a while. You got one more question, then I'll send you packing. Jordan Carmichael writes in, "What's up, fellas? Keeping Halo out of this conversation. Who has more to prove this year between Call of Duty Vanguard and Battlefield 2042? Personally, I think Battlefield has more to prove still because they haven't been on the top of the people's list or people's minds, when it comes to shooters in the last couple of years, let alone the fact that it is multiplayer only for a, quote, full price tag, end quote. Thank you guys. DD is great. Our pleasure, Jordan. All right, to conclude things, we have the ultimate comparison that's probably going to be made this fall. Halo will be in that bunch, but for our conversation, it will not be. Who has more to prove right now, Call of Duty or Battlefield?
That's a really good question, actually, because there is backlash to Call of Duty Vanguard because it's World War II again. They only recently did World War II. Battlefield did World War II. So there's already this sense of fatigue about revisiting World War II already. So Call of Duty has something to prove. Can they make another World War II game actually feel fresh? So they have something to prove. But also Battlefield has something to prove. Because Battlefield 5 was not great. It was decent. I played it a little bit. I'm a big Battlefield guy. Like, I'm a huge Battlefield guy. I play Call of Duty every now and then, but I tend to skip them for several years because they don't really make a new game every year. They just reskin an old game. So I feel like you're gonna have to earn my purchase. So I wait a few years. However, I am a fan of the World War II theater of war. So I am very like Call of Duty World at War is my favorite Call of Duty, which I realize is not a popular opinion.
Same.
That's spicy.
That FG-42 in Call of Duty World at War just was so satisfying to use. No other gun in any Call of Duty has purred.
I love the MP40 because it literally looks and sounds like a popcorn machine. Like when the bullets fly out, it just
pop. It's like the bouncing, getting killed constantly by bouncing bays too, man.
Oh gosh, yeah,
classic. But anyway, but I think they both have something to prove. But I do feel like Battlefield probably has something more to prove because they didn't deliver all the Battlefield 5 features they said they were going to deliver. They had that whole firefight thing, which was just like the biggest fail I've ever seen. And EA in general is just like so inconsistent. They're so inconsistent. The Frostbite engine's inconsistent. Whereas Call of Duty, they sell every year regardless. Call of Duty never has anything to prove ever because they could literally put out Call of Duty Balloon Core Edition where you shoot balloons out of a some like you got a gun that shoots little balloons and you have to like burst the balloons with another gun or something. They could put that out and people will buy it. And they'd say it was amazing. Well, they wouldn't say it was amazing, but they're buying it anyway because it's Call of Duty.
Oh, they will buy it. Oh, that's
fine. Call of Duty is almost like a tradition now. It's just the game you buy every year, regardless.
A ritual. It's a ritual.
It's a ritual, yeah. So I think Battlefield's got way more to prove because they don't have a ritualistic purchasing aspect to them. The last few Battlefields were not great. Battlefield, I love Battlefield 1, just for the record. Battlefield 1 was the last Battlefield I truly, truly played to death. Battlefield 5 was, again, hit and miss. And Firefight was just a fail on a massive scale. And I actually play Battlefront 2 way more than Battlefield 5, sorry. And
Battlefront 2 has improved immensely as well, so...
Yeah, Battlefront 2 is an underrated redemption story, I think.
Yeah.
They really worked hard to fix that game. But yeah, I think Battlefield's got more to prove. What do you guys think?
Literally the same thing, man. Battlefield, it is. The pressure's on. Obviously, I think there's been a yearning for the modern setting, I think. And, they went away for it for a little bit. So I know me personally, I really like the goofy, gimmicky Levolution stuff. And, I like the big scale. I'm just more of a Battlefield person. The big scale combat war vehicles, that kind of thing. It always appealed to me. And I thought that the trailer showed extremely well. I thought they really did a good job. The thing now is going to be, selling it, presenting itself as a multiplayer only game, whereas we just saw Vanguard. And, it looked like a decent, compelling, campaign going on a little bit. It looked decent, kind of more the same, but it had a campaign. So people will say, hey, that may be a full product to them. I don't know if they're doing zombies and all that stuff again. I'm assuming they are. But Battlefield has all the things to prove. They have to get everybody on board. And I'll say something spicy because Maddie's going to like this. But I think they need to consider the Game Pass deal. Or if Microsoft, I know EA probably wants those pre-orders and maybe the price is extremely high, to do that kind of a deal. But I think it would be beneficial, for both of them, for that user base, for a multiplayer only game in Game Pass, like, hey, why not? But it'll be interesting to see if they eventually do it. And if they don't do it at launch, because at some point it's going to come in there with EA, the relationship with Microsoft. But I'm just curious to see when, is it something last minute like an Outriders, or is it something that, first major DLC or the top of the year or something, the spring or whatever of next year? So that's what I got. But I definitely think Battlefield has way, way more to prove.
I'm in the other camp.
Ooh.
I was not a fan of Battlefield 5, but I feel like since then, DICE has shown, really with Battlefront, that there's a heartbeat there. And I don't feel like they've missed the mark so often. I wasn't crazy about Battlefield 4, but I know that's one of the most loved ones. Battlefield 1 landed pretty well for most of us. I liked it a lot. I feel like Battlefield 5 was their only real big miss. And even Call of Duty's had their real big misses. In fact, in my opinion, I think they've had pretty more consistent ones with like Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare. I could go on. I think that there have been a lot of Call of Duty games that have come out and just been not good, not inspired. To me, I'm less concerned about the campaign because Call of Duty's shown some steps forward with that. Like Black Ops Cold War's campaign, I've continued to sing the praises about. It's not going to blow your mind. I mean, I was just very genuinely surprised by it, but to me, it's like, what are you going to show me that's going to, as someone who's in the Jez cycle, where it's like, how are you going to get me out of my see you in a couple of years loop, where when you guys truly have made your next step forward, like what's going to make me the purchaser that comes back year by year? Because I think part of the reason it's traditionalized is because people just accept it as such and they don't demand more. And we're seeing some pushback from Activision and specifically Blizzard in ways I think separate from Call of Duty. But
yes,
at the end of the day, I think they've got more to prove because I am admittedly biased in one way where I do prefer Battlefield's gameplay style nowadays. I used to love COD growing up, so that's part of it where I know they've kind of won me, but probably on a global level, it'd be the opposite for most people. But I think, generally speaking, to justify selling it to me again, and if we're to believe reports that have come out that the development for this game has just been horrible, Vanguard, I mean, to justify why you've got to hit this holiday window when it's who knows how ready it'll be. I feel like they've got something to prove compared to Battlefield, where at least in recency bias, I think Battlefield's coasting along pretty well. They're looking to be strong at launch. They're doing all the right things. But if we're talking historically, for me, DICE has only really missed once, and at launch with Battlefront 2. But with Battlefront 2's redemption in tandem with most of their games I enjoyed a lot, I'm not as concerned as most. But that's where I fall.
Okay.
That's where I fall.
Respect.
But we are nearing 3.5 hours. So I got to eat. I got to urinate. I got to edit a video after this too. So
I got some.
We got stuff to do, ladies and gentlemen. If you got this deep, I need you to leave a hashtag for us. Trying to scribble one together. It's got to be about Jez, right?
You got?
Like
mayonnaise.
Okay.
Mayo DD.
Yeah, mayo
Xbox
DD.
mayonnaise.
Oh, man.
Or DD mayonnaise.
Yeah.
DD
mayonnaise. Hashtag DD mayo. You got this.
Mayo. Okay.
Or mayonnaise or mayo?
Mayo.
Mayo's probably easy to spell.
Yeah, come on.
All right. Hashtag DD mayo. Get us in the comments. Get us on Twitter. Let us know you finished the show, especially this marathon. Jez, especially a big thank you to you for not only improving the show, but lending us your thoughts, your opinions, everything. You're more than welcome back. We Had a
Thank
blast.
you so much
having
for
you
having
on.
me.
Thank you,
Of
man.
course. And Jez, where
Thank
can
you.
everyone find you? I should have said this at the top of the show, but where can everyone find you if they're looking for more of your content?
Yeah, I'm mainly active on Twitter at Jez Corden, JZCorden, like James Corden, he who stole my name. And on WindowsCentral.com, that website I write for.
Nice.
You can also, if you don't want to read about the latest update to Skype, you can go to windowscentral.com/gaming to just filter out all the Windows stuff and just get all our Xbox and PC gaming stuff. So, yeah, thank you. Thanks guys for having me. It's been really fun.
Absolute.
Good. I'm glad.
Absolute, man.
Cog, anything you want to close up with, or shall I round it up?
No, man, look, fantastic show. Again, Jez is a legend out here. I have so much respect for him. Tremendous opinions, but what I feel is a very balanced and brutally honest voice in the Microsoft/Xbox community. He always says what he feels. Even when you disagree, I can't never get mad at Jez.
Nah.
Like, even when I disagree with him, I'm like, you know what, though? But he put it in such a way that I get it. You know, even when he slandered my Marvel XCOM, but I get it. I see why he does the way he does. But salute to him. Great show. Maddie, as always, the Dukes in the building. And yeah, man, I appreciate the love and the comments from everybody in the Patreon and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, with that, we thank you for sitting down with us. We hope you enjoyed our Gamescom special. Be sure to check out Jez, Cog, and myself if you're interested. And until next time, we'll catch you with episode 35 of Defining Duke. Take all right care of yourselves, and we'll see you then, all right? Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.